Married to my wife for 3 long years. I exhausted every effort imaginable, yet still couldn't even graze her skin. Yet I witnessed her with my own eyes clinging to her first. Love's arm strolling into a sleazy love hotel. That night, upon returning home, I didn't waste my breath, simply sliding the divorce papers silently across the table. She snatched up the documents to scan them, her fingers quivering as she dropped them back before shrieking at me, "Explain yourself. Why on earth do you want a divorce?" I snapped back instantly. "You tell me, you coward quail. Who could possibly tolerate? These years I gave my all but still couldn't. You know better than anyone. We were childhood sweethearts, yeah. He is practically my own brother, that's it. Just sign the damn papers, Shenjai." Before she could finish her excuse, I cut her off with a sharp gesture. "I've been devoted to you for 15 years, even if your heart was carved from solid stone, and that should have been more than enough time to melt it, right? Yet you treat me like a pathetic clown for your amusement." Linwoo Kito. "It's not at all what you think." I let out a heavy sigh, then demanded, "Where is your shame? Or more accurately, have you ever truly loved me for a single second?" Shenjai could only stand there in deafening silence. Linwoo Ang. "Between me and Wang Yu, I swear on my life, my hands are completely clean. I was merely assisting him with his business ventures. I'm just an unremarkable guy, so average that it's almost painful. I comprehend the depth of all, with absolute certainty that in your heart you've never respected me, my father-in-law. Exploited his wealth too. Leash you and keep this sham marriage intact. While you funneled that very same money to Wang Yu." At that moment, I locked eyes with Shun, Jai, my gaze burning with pure fury. "And then you weaponized my love to manipulate me. It's a flawless cycle. I really am the ultimate backup plan, aren't I, Tlog? Haha, you truly are beyond shameless." My face was a mask of agony, my laughter bordering on insanity. "Listen here, Lin Wu Tia. Get a grip." I glared at Shenjai, spitting out every syllable with venom. "Stop playing yourself and everyone else, and don't you dare dream of gaslighting me ever again. I'm fully aware that in your heart there has only ever been him. It's merely due to the crushing pressure from your father that you lack the guts to pull the trigger on a divorce. In this twisted game of love, both you and I are nothing but pathetic losers. You, clinging on like this won't lead to a happy ending. I'll be the one to officially initiate the split. Maybe by doing it this way when you face your father, it'll be a little easier for you to save face." The room plunged back into silence. "Sign it, Shenjai." Yes. Staring intensely at those documents, she looked shell-shocked as if her soul had fled. "Lin Wu, you have no right to treat me this way. I sacrificed my entire youth for you, haha. Then I suppose my own youth was fed to the dogs, wasn't it?" I leaned back and erupted into a fit of pure biting sarcasm, then abruptly stood up. "Shenjai, just view this as giving me a desperate way out, okay, ma? 15 years of sharing a bed, 15 years of serving as your unpaid chef. I'm only reclaiming the items I purchased with my own sweat. As for the rest of the assets, don't worry. I won't touch a single cent of your money. The only things I'm taking are my hard-earned salary cut, the wardrobe I bought myself, and my vehicle. That's the end of it." My words shredded Shenjai's pride. It was like brutally tearing away her final mask of innocence. In all these long years, I had never once addressed her with such coldness. I had always been the quiet, submissive husband. Even the truths I understood perfectly well deep down, I chose to never voice them aloud. All just to preserve a shred of dignity for the both of us. But the man standing here today was far too blunt and decisive. This version of me left Shenjai absolutely panicked. Furthermore, the venom in my words transformed someone as insufferably arrogant as Shenjai feel utterly humiliated. In Shenjai's sheltered world, no one had ever dared to speak so harshly to her face. The hand clutching those divorce settlement papers all squeezed so violently her knuckles turned ghostly white. She snatched up the pen and furiously scrawled her name, then stormed away from the table and marched straight upstairs. I stood up, snatched the divorce papers and tucked them securely into my pack. "Once I finish this final cleanup, I'm gone for good. Take care of yourself, Shenjai." Mid-ascent on, the stairs suddenly froze for a heartbeat before bolting away. After retreating into her room, she slammed the door shut. I cleared the dining table and scrubbed the dishes wet, dried my hands, and took one final lingering walk around the ground floor. I locked the main entrance, retreated back to the second floor, and stared at my room for a moment, gazing at the gifts Shenjai had given me lined up, with obsessive precision, row by row on the shelf. I felt the weight of every bittersweet memory attached to them. Finally, I came to a halt in front of Shenjiai's door. I turned away, headed to the garage, and threw open the car door. I slumped into the seat and cranked the engine to life. I lingered there, pulled out a cigarette, sparked it, and inhaled. I grabbed my phone and dialed Fatty. "Get out here and grab a drink. Same old spot, salt," I muttered. I accelerated away. On the second floor in the room, That used to be my sanctuary, the lights were dead. Shen. Jia stood motionless by the window watching from the moment I stepped out until my headlights bled into the distance. At Mother Chung's humble restaurant, that night I drank until the world went dark. Completely wasted and unconscious, I wanted to drown in it. I definitely gave Fatty a hell of a time. He had to wrestle with my usul, dead weight, just to haul me into a hotel room. He set a bottle of water on the nightstand. Fatty finished cleaning up my mess, clicked the door shut, and vanished. The following day arrived with a blinding sunny glow. Light sliced through the curtains, scattering mottled streaks of gold directly across my face. If I weren't a corporate slave conditioned to drinking. For years, there's no way I could have dragged myself up. I cleaned myself up, choked down breakfast, and drove to the grind. The second I stepped into the office, the air was thick with rumors of massive layoffs. It wasn't long. After I saw the boss beckoning me into his lair, I shoved my pack of cigarettes into my pocket and stepped into the office. Boss. By the afternoon, HR had summoned a meeting to break down the cold math of the severance packages. After verifying my years of service and the payout, I signed. Then they dropped the final blow that tomorrow. All that's left is to finalize the exit paperwork. I'm preparing to bid farewell to the place I've called home for 15 years. That journey tracks my evolution from a naive, starry-eyed graduate to someone who truly understands the world's grind. Those 15 long years effectively marked the final chapter of my youth. 15 years of an ordinary man paying his dues to finally master the brutal, unwritten rules of society. I headed to my desk to pack up. My life grabbed the resignation forms and secured the final clearance signatures from HR, finance, and the department leads. Mission accomplished. Goodbye, everyone. I gave a respectful bow to my team. I truly appreciate all the support you've shown me over the years. I descended the stairs, ready to make my final exit. Unexpectedly, Miss Hugh, my dedicated subordinate, was already waiting for me in the lot. Clutched in her hand was a small black bag. I instinctively knew it was cigarettes. I walked up to her, stowed my boxes in the trunk, then turned to pull Ms. Hugh into a warm, genuine hug, lightly patting her shoulder. Zohaibos. Choking back tears, whispered, "Please take care of yourself, boss." I told her to keep her head up and keep killing it at work. I ignited the engine, gave a final wave, and drove off. More than just gratitude for the firm, Sesso. I felt a deep, aching nostalgia for my lost youth. My chest felt tight with the weight of it. But there were still loose ends that needed to be tied. Otherwise, I'd never truly find peace of mind. I shot a quick message to Ouyang Nana, requesting Wang Yu's personal contact info. Then I dialed the number. A wave of chaotic background noise hit my ear. Wang Yu Mo. It's Lin Wu. We need to talk. Wang Yu responded with a cold sneer. Meet me at the Peninsula Cafe on Huazhang Street. The prick didn't even wait for my confirmation before cutting the line. I swung the car toward Huazhang Street. When I pulled up at the Peninsula Cafe, I spotted Wang Yu perched arrogantly at a table, right by the window. I grabbed a latte and took the seat opposite him. After a heavy silence, I looked him in the eye and spoke. Shen Jiayi and I have signed the divorce papers. Wang Yu casually swirled his coffee with a spoon. You should have disappeared ages ago. Honestly, she never should have settled for you. You were never in her league. If she hadn't tied the knot with me, then she wouldn't have had the surplus cash too. Bankroll a leech like you, I countered with biting sarcasm. Wang Yu pierced me with a look of pure disdain before turning away, obsessively swirling his coffee. Wang Yu scoffed. You're a pathetic simp. A talentless loser trying to bag, high-tier women has to rely on cheap gimmicks. You moron, she's been holding out for me this whole time. I'm aware. I know I'm not in her league, but a parasite like you isn't either. I might be a fool, Saul, but you're the undisputed GOAT of was. Human garbage and social filth. You're a literal monster. Wang Yu's chest heaved with suppressed fury, nearly hitting his breaking point as I continued my monologue. But I'm still inexplicably jealous of you. Absurd, isn't it, that a loyal, decent man is actually envious of a lowlife like you? It's truly the peak of cosmic irony. Ha ha ha. Wang Yu erupted into laughter at my confession. You really are just a clueless country bumpkin. What do you actually know about the female psyche, Wark? Wang Yu wore a smug smirk. Since you two are officially history anyway, let me drop some wisdom. Women are meant to be played. They instinctually gravitate towards strength and crave being dominated. To keep their blood pumping, you must learn how to truly master the rhythm. Shatter them 1 second, then coddle them the next. Catch my drift? That is the only way to truly possess the heart of the woman you desire. In this game, you're nothing but a bottom-tier loser. Wang Yu let out a sharp snort and continued in his insufferably patronizing tone. He clearly viewed himself as some elite pickup master and a relish playing the life coach. He paused to reflect, then added, women of Shen Jiayi's caliber don't give a damn about nice work. Predictable guys, they crave bad boys because, hey, only the dangerous ones can ignite that primal fire in their souls. Once a woman no longer holds you in her heart, sharing a bed for a century is utterly pointless. I nodded my heart, turning to Cold Ash, signaling for him to keep talking. Wang Yu hesitated briefly, taking a slow, calculated sip of his latte. When a woman like her sets out to tame or transform a man she deems a forbidden, then she's absolutely finished. She'll plunge headfirst into that romantic abyss herself. It's the law of the universe. Wang Yu radiated arrogance as if he'd just conquered a nation, launching into a relentless smug rant about his twisted history with Shen Jiayi, dating back to their days as childhood sweethearts. Suffocating in heartbreak, I cut his monologue short and locked eyes with Wang Yu. Do you actually give a damn about her? Whoa. At that question, Wang Yu's facade momentarily flickered. Over his chaotic life, he had claimed to love far too many people. The one he cherished most certainly wasn't Shen Jiayi. If it were, he would have sought redemption and overhauled his pathetic life ages ago. At the very least, he would have offered Shen Jiayi a genuine beacon of hope much sooner. I pressed him further. We've reached the end, Wallace, so stop feeding me your lies. I just want the cold, hard truth. Wang Yu immediately spiraled into deep calculation, scheming before finally musing, I suppose I love her, chill. But she isn't my top priority. In my world, cold cash is the ultimate king. I'm destined to make my family dynasty rise from the ashes. I was livid. Typical, you're just a spineless coward manipulating a woman's heart. Yeah, got it. Resorting to filthy tactics just to reach your goal. Walls. Wang Yu simply maintained that insufferable mocking grin. I pivoted and stormed out in a blind rage. Slumped in my car, I sparked a cigarette, pulled out my phone and used WeChat to blast a recording of our little chatwa to a major hotel conglomerate in Harbin. The morning sun bled down through the windshield. The alarm blared. I signed up for a scenic suburban tour of the frozen city Harbin and trailed the group to witness the sights. Despite being a Harbin local for so many years, I had never truly appreciated the soul of this breathtaking city. Since our wedding, Shen Jiayi was always buried in workies, with zero interest in wandering by my side, to simply watch the clouds drift by. The surrounding beauty allowed my heavy heart to gradually lighten. Time is a relentless thief. The date for our final divorce hearing was looming near. Finally, the day I've waited for has arrived. It's finally time to bury the past. A brand new chapter is about to unfold. Protocols must be observed. Seeking her out, be at the Civil Affairs Bureau gates tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. sharp. The following morning, CEO. I groomed myself meticulously and drove out, absorbing the urban landscape one last time. 30 minutes later, I reached the bureau to await Shen Jiayi. At precisely 7:58, Shen Jiayi emerged from her Panamera, gliding slowly toward the entrance. Having not laid eyes on her for an entire month, she remained as regal and sophisticated as always. Exuding an air of icy independence, I waited for Shen Jiayi until she finally reached the threshold. The two of us paced forward side by side, enveloped in a suffocating silence throughout the entire walk. Shen Jiayi stole a single glance at me before sharply averting her gaze. We stepped inside together, pulled a queue number, and entered the mediation room. Both parties adamantly refused any mediation. As we submitted the paperwork, the clerk asked, are both of you proceeding with this divorce voluntarily? Yes, we answered in perfect unison, then signed to receive the final certificate. With our marriage officially dead, we both stepped back into the sun. Approaching Shen Jiayi's vehicle, we both came to a dead stop. Take care of yourself. I gave Shen Jiayi a long searching look, noticing her crimson lips trembling ever so slightly. Without waiting for a response, I turned toward my own car. Linwu Shen Jiayi's voice rang out, followed by the frantic staccato of high heels clicking as she gave chase. The elegant Shen Jiayi surged forward to bridge the gap and hugged me from behind, forced to sever ties with the man who had been her constant shadow for the last 15 years. Shen Jiayi could no longer suppress the chaotic turmoil raging in her soul. It was unclear if she felt a debt of guilt, or if she was drowning in self-reproach, or if it was the sheer terror of her predictable life being utterly shattered at this exact moment. She desperately wanted to offer a sincere farewell. Can you just give me one last hug, Woi? Her voice was a fragile whisper, drifting from behind. Both her trembling voice and her body betrayed her. I turned around to face Shen Jiayi, her long eyelashes casting dark shadows over her phoenix eyes, which were wearily half closed. I opened my arms and pulled her into a final embrace, holding her in a crushing embrace for an eternity. A moment later, I offered a final gentle pat on her back, then firmly pushed her shoulders back to gaze at that stunning face, whispering one last truth: if there's a next life, let's just remain strangers. I slowly disentangled myself from Shen Jiayi, turning away with cold resolve, refusing to flinch at the sound of shattered sobbing behind me. I genuinely believed I was tough enough to weather this moment. We often delude ourselves with such fantasies, but the reality is usually the polar opposite. Slumping into the driver's seat, I couldn't suppress a heavy sigh. This ill-fated romance ultimately hit a dead end. After everything, I'm still left with nothing. I ignited the engine and accelerated away, leaving a lonely trail of dust in my wake. Exactly 15 years ago today, we officially registered our union right at this spot. I can still see that memory with haunting clarity. Now 15 years later on this very day, at this exact location we finalized our divorce. I truly wish I could erase every trace of these past 15 years. If the spring breeze truly pities the flowers, could I please just get a one-way ticket back to my youth? If there's a next life, actually no. At the threshold of Longwang village, ranks of towering willow trees line the path with lush foliage, their dense sweeping canopies, swaying elegantly, radiating a vibrant green energy and shade that stood in stark contrast to my hollow mood. The ancient trees of the settlement masked the true layout of the entire hamlet. Only the glimpses of double-layered rooftops peeking through revealed the hidden presence of a Longwang village. The western edge bleeds into the ocean. The trek from the village square to the shoreline takes about 30 minutes. Peak leans against peak while the coast remains tethered to the sea. While driving along the road, I spotted several locals piloting electric tricycles, hauling their gear back from the coast. Auntie E, what was the haul like today, bye? I recognized my neighbor, Auntie Wu, so I lowered the window to check in. Oh, tits. Little you, is that you? You're finally home, so I managed to snag some prime roe crabs today. Want a taste? I'll hook you up. I'll pack a whole jar for you, Auntie Wu offered with a grin. I appreciate it, Auntie Tol, but I think we're stocked up. You've had a long day, haven't you? Get home and put your feet up. Thanks anyway, Auntie. I decisively cut the conversation short, not daring to indulge in the local gossip any longer. If I let the chatter linger some, she'd inevitably pester me about why Shen Jiayi hadn't returned home to share a meal with me, or if we were caught in some petty lover's quarrel. The second I offered her a crumb of an answer, I guarantee that before the sun set on dinner, not a single soul in this village would be left in the dark. No mainstream news outlet can rival the village's human loudspeakers. They're absolutely terrifying. Years ago, when Shen Jiayi and I first became betrothed, it took less than a single hour for every villager to know every intimate detail. Pro tip from a seasoned survivor: when passing through the village gate, you gotta floor it. Even if neighbors hail you, feign a busy schedule and make a swift tactical getaway. Forget global news. The rice-powered broadcast system is the true media titan. A completely non-profit information network. Self-organized and frighteningly efficient. Their productivity is truly off the charts. Especially those aunties rocking their traditional headscarves. In many ways, they're more ruthless than frontline war correspondents was, particularly when it comes to excavating private lives. However, the encounter I dreaded most was still waiting for me. I pulled the car into my family yard. On the east side, a modest vegetable garden flourished, with seasonal greens looking crisp and vibrant. Honestly, a breath of fresh air. Zhang Fengying heard the engine and peered out from the living room. Catching sight of me, she scrambled out to welcome me home. Seeing only Lin Wu, she immediately began the interrogation. Xiao Yu, why did you come back alone? I mumbled a hollow excuse. She's buried in work, so she couldn't break away. Zhang Fengying helped me lug my bags inside. It isn't even a special occasion, Pite. Why splurge like this? It's a total waste. Well, it's been way too long since I visited you, Mom. Hearing her son say those words, Zhang Fengying finally let a genuine smile break through. Mom, take a seat. There's something important I need to tell you. Zhang Fengying was still beaming with joy. While I meticulously laid out the facts, explaining every cold detail of the divorce with Shen Jiayi, I laid everything bare to Mom. Zhang Fengying stood there utterly paralyzed. Silence for what felt like an eternity. Zhang Fengying retreated into her room, refusing to emerge, terrified she'd spiral into dark thoughts alone. I ventured inside to find her. The very second I crossed the threshold, a broom handle loomed right before my eyes. Zhang Fengying, her heart shattered into pieces, reached out to cradle her son's weary head, whispering words of comfort just as she used to soothe me into slumber when I was just a boy. If it wasn't for my own unyielding pride back then, my poor child would never have suffered this fate. Once a handsome till vibrant youth, I was now just a weathered, broken man, childless, alone, and pushed to the absolute brink. After all those years, he was left with nothing but a bitter end. Her tears cascaded down her face, completely beyond her control. Finally, her voice cracked as she said, Oh, my son, it's all my fault. I failed you so miserably. A few days later, my hefty severance package finally cleared in my account. Overwhelmed with relief, I, without a second's hesitation, wired the entire sum directly to my beloved mother's savings. I pulled up WeChat and fired off 8888 to the contact named Icy Moment. Shane, sis, don't sleep on this red envelope. Your bro just secured a massive bag. Icy Moment has successfully claimed your transfer. Appreciate it, little bro. A knowing smirk tugged at my lips. I mean, who doesn't vibe with some easy money low? On the 5th day of my homecoming, I decided it was time to escape and hit the open road. Watching those trending short clips online, I truly envied the freedom of a nomadic wanderer's life. With mom's nagging warning still echoing, I accelerated toward the airport. Destination number 1, Guilin. They say the scenery of Guilin is peerless under the heavens. Departing from Xincheng Airport, with a single layover in between, the journey took nearly 6 grueling hours. The morning was still fresh and young. I cruised along the pavement quite leisurely. Passing the old residence I once shared with my ex-wife, I eased the car to the curb and stole one final glance at the place. The midday streets were ghostly and desolate. Sometimes people aren't ready to confront AO, haunting past so they choose. What do you think most folks would instinctively choose to bolt right? Dodging those toxic individuals or at haunted locations that one never wishes to confront again. Because those people and those specific places once bore witness to unforgettable traumas that no one dares to revisit. Humans are fundamentally no different from beasts. We possess the primal instinct to chase the light and evade the darkness just to survive. I had zero desire to dredge up those memories, those faces, or the landmarks tied to my ex-wife. Yet I felt a strange compulsion to gaze at that shrine of failure one final time. From the complex gates, I could just make out the balcony of my former sanctuary. That was the ledge where I stood in a numb daze every single night. Wait, something was dead wrong. Charcoal smoke was billowing from the attic vents. Is the whole damn place going up in flames? Oh, but the kitchen is situated on the north side, not the south. I couldn't get a clear read on the situation. So I kicked the car door open and sprinted straight for the entrance. Driving in would take 5 minutes, Feg. But sprinting there on foot is a soul-crushing workout. The closer I got, the more chaotic the crowd became. Some were frantically calling the cops, others were lugging buckets of water, but not a single soul was brave enough to charge in. In this elite high-end neighborhood, everyone prizes their own skin above everything else. Reaching the front entrance, gasping for air, I barked at a nearby elder. Sir, it's Lin is Shenjai still, trapped inside vertical bar. Suffocating black plumes were already surging through the door. The old man just shook his head. I snatched the heavy bucket of water right out of his trembling hands, doused myself from head to toe in an icy deluge, and hurled myself into the inferno. I lunged for the main door on the ground floor, gripped the handle and wrenched it with all my might. It wouldn't give an inch, so I scrambled to the window to catch a glimpse of the interior. I couldn't hear a single sound wall, nor did I spot a living soul. Monstrous! Flames were roaring like demons near the first floor landing. The soot was thick enough to blind me. What's the play, Teak? What do I do? My entire frame was shaking uncontrollably. I ripped a brick from the garden bed, aimed squarely at the glass door and hurled it once, then twice. On the third strike, the glass finally exploded into shards. I reached through the jagged glass to wrench the lock, flung the door wide, and dove headlong into the heat. Shanjiayi Mie. Empty. Nothing on the first floor. I lunged toward the basement. The expensive erythrophleum stairs were already a roaring staircase of fire. The designer sofa and matching tea table below were engulfed in a hellish blaze. Why my ex-father-in-law? Obsessed over such flammable, overpriced wood, I'll never know. Ignoring the searing heat, I plunged into the depths of the inferno. Shenjiayi, where have you gone? The dark basement was already claustrophobic, and now it was a death trap of toxic smoke. Then it hit me. She's trapped in the home theater. She has to be there. The crushing suffocation intensified with every breath. I threw my weight against the double doors of the lounge. They were jammed shut, which meant someone was barricaded inside. Channeling every ounce of adrenaline, I mule-kicked the heavy timber door. It splintered open. The haze inside was slightly less lethal. Through the gray veil, I spotted Shen Jiayi clutching her face, slumped lifelessly against the bar. On the far sofa sat 2 men and another woman, barely clinging to consciousness, gasping through their fingers. And there, among those 2 pathetic men, was Wang Yu. My heart hammered as I checked if Shen Jiayi was still breathing, rushing across the room to scoop her limp body into my arms. Noticing the fresh wet tear tracks staining her cheeks, I tightened my grip and made a mad dash for the exit. The adjacent bedroom was a complete whiteout of smoke. I simply charged through the darkness on instinct. Luckily, my brutal training regimen throughout the year had forged my stamina into something elite. Even as the flames licked my legs and ignited my pants, I didn't flinch, bolting up the burning stairs and dodging embers falling from above, purely terrified that a single spark might touch Shen Jiayi. Finally, hitting the ground floor, I smashed through the main exit, laid her gently by the flower bed, snatched a hose from a neighbor, and doused the fire eating at my own skin. Then I splashed a handful of cool water over Shen Jiayi's face. Slowly, she began to drift back. I lightly tapped her cheek, desperately calling her name, seeing Shen Jiayi's eyelids begin to tremble. I increased the pressure. Shen Jiayi, wake up. Her eyes drifted open, her focus finally sharpening on me. Jiayi Shoj. Who are you? It's Lin Wu. A flood of tears began to stream down her face. I let out a jagged, breathless laugh. Thank God you're alive. That's all that matters. Then my expression turned cold as I growled, take care of yourself. Look at the absolute disaster you've caused. Oh, was your little fantasy world really worth this, Shen Jia? Shen Jiayi heard my voice and began to wail. Quit your sobbing. You truly are a brainless woman, drenching my clothes in icy water again. I plunged back into the abyss to extract the others, grabbing the girl first. She looked like a fragile ghost. I was terrified her heart would stop from the lack of oxygen. The treacherous Shen Jiayi, her face a mess of soot and tears, stared at my battered and charred appearance. She shrieked, Lin Wu, are you hurt? If the flames are too intense, don't play the hero chitty. My face was masked in thick grime, looking like a total lush disaster. I flashed a grin with my white teeth, turning my head to shoot Shen. Jiayi, a look of pure disdain. Have you no clue, puzzle? If I hadn't stormed this hellhole, you would have had absolutely zero chance of making it out alive. With that, I doused myself in a final bucket of water and charged back into the fire. Shen Jiayi, who had been too shell-shocked to process the danger, instantly froze as my words sank in. A wave of cold dread washed over her as she trembled. Just one more. Man remained that worthless scumbag Wang Yu. I dragged him toward the exit as black smoke erupted from the depths. I fumbled through the darkness once more, reaching the skeletal remains of the stairs connecting the ground floor to the basement. The charred, decaying steps crumbled beneath my boots. I gritted my teeth and surged on. A human life is still a life after all. Heaving his scorching heavy body onto my shoulders, I crawled upward one agonizing inch at a time. Every fiber of my being was screaming in pain. My lungs felt like they were being shredded by needles, and vertigo hit me in waves. I felt like my chest was about to detonate. My physical reserves were completely empty. Vision began to blur as hallucinations crept in. Reaching the final threshold from the basement to the light, victory was finally within my grasp. I channeled every last drop of adrenaline to lunge for the exit with the dead weight on my back. We both collapsed violently onto the floor tiles. He groaned weakly a few times, and I let out a guttural grunt. This is hell. I'm absolutely spent. I gnashed my teeth, ignoring the raw skin on my arms, and forced myself to hoist his body once more. The exit was in sight, but my legs suddenly gave out. Both of us went sprawling out the door. The parasite on my shoulder slammed into the dirt first, and I crashed down right behind him. As I hit the earth, my skull collided violently against his, and the world went black. I have no idea how long I stayed in the dark. Lin Wu, answer me. Are you okay? Get to the hospital and get yourself checked out immediately. Shen Jiayi pleaded anxiously. I remained dead silent. The fire trucks finally screeched onto the scene. Firefighters equipped with oxygen masks and wielding high-pressure water cannons charged into the blaze while spraying. By the time the ambulance arrived, they were still relentlessly dousing the basement. Firefighters finally gained the upper hand to descend below. I gradually drifted back to consciousness and sat up dizzily, spotting Shen Jiayi, who was standing a short distance away currently, locked in a heated argument with the first girl I rescued. Forced myself onto my feet and stretched my aching limbs. It seemed I hadn't sustained any permanent damage. So I trudged toward the pair of them, lingering nearby. After eavesdropping for a moment, the truth clicked. That woman, without a shred of Shen Jiayi's consent, had smuggled that toxic scumbag Wang Yu into the house. Apparently, she had been trying to talk him down from a ledge. I'm guessing the negotiation went south, and in a fit of rage, Wang Yu sparked the inferno. Either he harbored a twisted desire to die, side by side with her, or he was desperately trying to play the hero, saving the damsel, staging a pathetic Prince Charming rescue. Lin Wu, you're finally awake? How are you feeling, Ki? Seriously, you need to head to the hospital for a full exam. I cast a cold glance at Wang Yu sprawled on the pavement. The paramedics had already hooked that loser up to oxygen. Finished with this drama, my face smeared as black as a soot cake pot. Flashing my pale teeth, I muttered to Shen Jiayi, fires and thieves are trivial compared to your own garbage judgment. Just look at your sweetheart and your bestie. Truly an absolute waste of oxygen. Shut your damn mouth, you low-class peasant. Since when do you have the right to judge me, Huo? Shen Jiayi's supposed best friend barked. I thought to myself, I really should have left you to rot. In that instant, Shen Jiayi swung her arm and delivered a stinging slap straight across her best friend's face. The red handprint was visible for the world to see. She turned back to lock eyes with me. Lin Wu. I simply grinned and shook my head, saying, well, Shen Jiayi, I truly wish you two a lifetime of happiness. I turned away coldly and disappeared into the gathering crowd. Amidst the sea of onlookers, I glanced back one final time, then let out a smirk and walked away for good as the jet show. Engines roared and the plane ascended. The sheer G-force pinned me back, giving me a sudden electrifying rush of freedom. I couldn't help but wonder if bungee jumping would deliver an even more insane adrenaline rush. If the opportunity arises, I'm absolutely sending it. That would definitely be more cinematic. I checked. At that very moment, and a sudden realization hit me. I totally forgot to return this watch on my wrist to Shen. Jia Yi. This was the engagement gift she gave me all those years ago. It's been a part of me for over 15 long years. No matter how many luxury timepieces she showered me with later. I made a final call the moment I step off this plane. I'm tracking down Ao, courier service to ship it straight back to her. If I'm going to move on, I need a 100% clean break. Since I've been catching up on sleep lately, I wasn't feeling drowsy in the slightest. I just grabbed some snacks and drinks then drifted in and out of naps until my legs felt unbearably restless. And finally, I touched down at Guilin Airport. Phew, sweet freedom at last. Under the salty glare of the girl the director tried to set me up with, I let the local guide I'd personally picked lead me to the checkout station and walked right out of that restaurant. My guide's name was Milan. I trailed closely behind Mio. Lion's lead, I let her handle every single detail of the trip. That night, I settled into a local guest house. From the street, it had a charming vintage vibe, but the second I crossed the threshold, I realized the quality was elite. This place had to be at least a 4-star joint. The best part, the price was an absolute steal. Using Milan's hookup, it only cost me 398 Chinese yuans, practically 50% off. I felt genuinely satisfied for once. The day 3 mission was the iconic 10-mile gallery. The boatman maneuvering the raft on the Yulong River had that classic Guilin aesthetic home, deep-set eyes and a brilliant white smile. He looked incredibly kind and grounded. I guess it's a byproduct of the environment, Ed. When you live in a paradise this breathtaking, happiness just comes naturally. It's a literal sanctuary, where the soul is sculpted by the scenery. Actually, by the afternoon of the 3rd day, we finally reached the Silver Cave. The locals always say that once you've stepped into the Silver Cave, you'll be swimming in riches for the rest of your days. So here's hoping everyone strikes it rich. Got it. In the mere blink of an eye, a week had vanished. Despite being physically drained these past few days, my soul and spirit feel like they've been thoroughly purified. I've truly fallen for this place, and I'm not ready to call it quits just yet. So I wired 20,000 Chinese yuan to Xiaomi as a down payment. Consider that the cover for the next 2 days. If the tab runs higher, I'll settle the difference. And you can keep the change. Milan was absolutely ecstatic and planted a loud peck on my cheek. Right then, we were grabbing a bite together. I'm stuffed. I reclined in my seat and picked my teeth suddenly, reminiscing about that electric rush. From the flight, I turned to Xiaomi to verify, are there any bungee jumping spots in the vicinity? I'm looking to take a leap this afternoon. Milan, casually, finished her meal and dabbed her mouth with a napkin. Definitely, there are 2 prime locations. One suspends you over the river Haas, and the other is perched on a peak. Which one's it going to be, Brother Lin Poi? Whatever's nearest, I figured I'd go for the convenient option, so that once I've taken the plunge and wrapped up today's schedule, I could retreat to the hotel and handle other business. Milan mentioned the mountain site was closer. Perfect, Miles. Let's roll with that. I cleared the bill and we hitched a ride instantly. Roughly an hour later, the 2 of us arrived at the bungee park. After settling the fee, the staff grilled me on my medical history. Once they cleared me for the jump, Xiaomi, you got the guts to try this box. If you're game, the bill is on me. Milan shook her head with frantic intensity. Seeing her reaction, I didn't push the issue. I just flashed her a thumbs up to boost her spirits. Milan stood on the sidelines watching and even beamed at me. While the technician was securing the lock, my sharp gaze caught a slight deformity in the safety carabiner. I immediately demanded a replacement. The staff member called out to me with a dismissive air. Yes. Relax. We cycle through this gear 100 times a day. Given your current weight, there's 0 chance of it failing under pressure. I still felt a nagging sense of dread. Fine, have it your way, boss. Once the harness was locked in, I gingerly shuffled toward the platform's edge. My heart began thundering against my ribs, like a relentless drumbeat that wouldn't quit me, surging in intensity with every passing second. This is the ultimate high, I roared. Rebirth. Screw it all. I squeezed my eyes shut and plummeted. Downward, the wind shrieking past my ears. Whoosh! A massive adrenaline spike left me gasping. Milan, witnessing the madness from above, felt her pulse skyrocket and her knees buckle. In an instant, I hit the floor. Just as everyone braced for the cord to recoil, snap, the deformed carabiner shattered. I cursed internally. This is the end. A final bitter thought flickered through my consciousness. Mission failed. A heartbeat later, Milan heard a sickening heavy thud. I didn't even have a split second to scream. Oh, Brother Lin, Milan's voice cracked as she shrieked at the top of her lungs, dissolving into hysterical sobs. And she couldn't process the sight of a vibrant human life evaporating right before her very eyes, especially after bonding over so many days on the road. Little you open your eyes, little you stay with me, Wolte. Get your butt out of bed this instant, shikes. You're about to be a college freshman, Kyo. How can you be this incredibly lazy kite? That sharp vertical bar. Piercing screech. Detonated right inside my eardrums. My limbs felt weighted down, trapped in total sleep paralysis. I squinted and peered toward the edge of the mattress. It was Mom. I squeezed. My eyelids shut again and groaned groggily, Mom. Just let me rot a bit longer. Everything hurts, and my battery is at 0%. Zhang Fengqing shot me a judging side eye. She marched over to the bedside. I ruffled her precious son's hair and stormed out in a huff. Suddenly, a chaotic storm of fragmented memories began flooding my brain. It was bizarre. Why were those corporate blueprints so vivid? They were etched into my mind, complex floor plans, intricate 3D assembly renders, and detailed technical specs. And then, the visions froze at the exact moment the safety line snapped. Those incompetent staff members. Why the hell didn't I trust my own gut instinct? At this point, I have to warn my circled eye. Don't be an idiot chasing cheap thrills. That safety cord is a total lie. Besides falling from that height, wait a damn minute, I frantically reached behind my neck is perfectly intact without a single scratch. This is utterly impossible. I struggled for several agonizing moments before I could sit, bolt upright and survey my surroundings. This really is my childhood bedroom. There's my oversized black dust-caked stuffed seal. Where's my damn phone when my eyes locked onto the chunky pear-shaped Nokia 6600 on the nightstand? It hit me that this was the celebratory reward for securing my college admission. Letter that my mom had surprised me with. I could feel my pulse thundering in my chest. I scrambled off the bed and shrieked, Mom, Mom, with a look of pure unadulterated panic. Why on earth did you sleep so late? Starving, go scrub up and get to the table. Staring at the vibrant, youthful face of Zhang Fengqing, I didn't see a single silver strand of hair. Even her sideburns were a rich jet black. Mom, is this a dream? Pinch me, seriously pinch me. Wow. Hurry up. Are you throwing another tantrum? Still trapped in a nightmare. Zhang Fengqing eyed her precious son with deep suspicion. Mom, just pinch me now. Seeing me act like a complete zombie. Zhang Fengqing wrenched my arm and delivered a solid punch. Mom, au mercy car. That actually hurts. I winced, scrounging up my nose in pain. Zhang Fengqing released me and stared at her. Son like he was a certified mental patient with a look of sheer revulsion. I rubbed my ear as the stinging slowly subsided. Mom, give your son a hug, come on, Wolf. I just woke up from the most horrific nightmare. In a heartbeat, my tears began to spill like a snapped string of pearls, cascading down my cheeks. Zhang Fengqing feigned disgust, but still pulled my head into her embrace. I instinctively hunched my shoulders down so she could comfortably wrap her arms around my neck. As we held each other, Zhang Fengqing realized her son's emotional state was unquestionably shattered. She began gently rhythmic patting my back. Amidst this tidal wave of raw emotion, I confirmed the truth. I had officially been reincarnated. My mother's touch was every bit as warm as in my previous life. The realization sparked a surge of genuine pure joy. My parents are still in their prime. This is nothing short of absolute euphoria. I wiped my face and croaked, Mom, what's for breakfast? Go check the kitchen. A grown man, yet still such a massive crybaby. And you're still burrowing into your mother's embrace like a toddler. You're literally about to be a college student, for heaven's sake. So, Zhang Fengqing turned away to begin setting the dining table. As I followed her, I whispered, Mom told, even if you were 100 years old, you would still be the only mother I'll ever need. Just sit down and eat. You're babbling nonsense. I began inhaling the meal, demolishing 3 massive bowls of corn porridge in a single sitting. That crushing sense of fatigue finally began to evaporate. After stuffing myself, I scrubbed the dishes and stepped out into the yard, soaking in the nostalgia of the garden scenery. Then I cast my gaze toward the heavens with profound reverence. Thank you, fate, for granting me this chance to rewrite my destiny. In the back of my mind, I desperately summoned the system. Over half an hour ticked by, and I was met only with total silence. Whatever may be living without a cheat code is better. A raw, authentic life is all I need. Before I knew it, dusk began to settle over the village. Only a bleeding streak of crimson light clung to the horizon. Wisps of kitchen smoke from the neighbors began to drift through the air. Lin Zhengguo had finally returned from his haul at sea. He hauled out from the storage cage several massive blue crabs and jagged stone crabs. Tonight we feast like kings, like a typical hungry brat. I found myself excitedly scheming on the best way to prep those crabs to maximize the flavor. I asked with pure hype. You haven't contributed a single useful thing all day, yet you have the nerve to come out here and make demands. I clutched my head in mock despair. My luck is truly in the gutter. We're expecting guests tomorrow morning, so get up at the crack of dawn and hit the market for supplies. Who's visiting us, Mom? Your aunt, yes. Dong Wenhua. Think back to middle school. She paid us a visit once. She even gifted you clothes and books, remember? Yeah, me. I have a hazy memory of her. I felt a sudden prickle of unease, weird in my previous life. She never showed up during the post-exam break. Could my return have triggered a butterfly effect? Didn't she usually just check in over the phone? This time she's actually showing up on our doorstep. Eek. I need to steer clear of her. Where's the best place to vanish? What's a solid alibi I can use, little you? Yeah. Get your butt out of bed and go buy those groceries now. Yo. Did you hear a word I said? I jolted into full consciousness instantly. I stood by the window and shoved it wide, scanning the village from the vantage of the second floor. Overflowing with vitality and lush greenery, I roared at the top of my lungs, man being alive is freaking peak to all. Zhang Fengying aggressively poked her head out from the ground floor doorway, craning her neck to shoot me a death stare. Get your butt down here now, so. On my way, Mom, I didn't have a choice. CEO Zhang wields absolute authority over the family treasury. There was zero chance I'd risk provoking her wrath, or letting her mood sour, not on my watch. The ultimate combo of bloodline suppression and financial leverage, a truly inescapable trap for any son. I inhaled a quick breakfast and hauled the motorcycle out. The ride Dad picked was a Suzuki 100 automatic, sleek, simple, and effortless to handle. Honestly, cruising around a classic Suzuki is a total vibe. Straddling the bike and letting the summer breeze smack my face felt incredibly liberating. The air was thick with the fragrance of grass and wildflowers, drowning my senses in a surge of raw, powerful energy. Our protagonist deeply treasured this rare second chance, learning how to truly feel, and learning how to actually understand the world. At the local market, I whipped out the grocery list: tofu ribs, tiger prawns, and sea snails. I was floored by the prices of this era, spending a mere $100 and left my bags nearly bursting at the seams. I stashed the haul at the footrest, locked it in with my legs, and throttled back home. Cruising along on my little motorbike, taking you to witness the eternal glow of the sunset. I was humming a catchy tune as I arrived. Mom, I'm back. Before even crossing the threshold, my hawk-like eyes scanned every inch of the house. Yes. Relief washed over me when I only spotted Aunt Dong Wenhua wearing a gentle smile. There wasn't any overbearing energy in sight. Dong Wenhua gazed at the strikingly handsome young man standing there, scrutinizing him from head to toe. Before speaking softly, little you, look how much you've matured. Come over here and let Auntie get a good look at you. Let's catch up. Zhang Fengying witnessed this interaction and couldn't wipe the grin off her face. I shot a look at my mom, filled with pure silent pleading, but Zhang Fengying completely blanked me. I heard you're headed to Fengcheng for uni too. My own daughter is currently enrolled at the Normal University, right there in Fengcheng. Once the new semester kicks off, she'll be entering her junior year. Dong Wenhua spoke with a measured, velvety cadence that was incredibly easy on the ears. To be fair, my future mother-in-law from my previous life was currently in the prime of her middle years, radiating a truly noble and sophisticated vibe, wrapped in an aura of pure elegance. When it comes to this former mother-in-law of mine, I've always carried a deep-seated respect for her. In that past timeline, she cherished me as if I were her own flesh and blood. But the mere thought of Shen Jiayi sends my mood into a tailspin. Mom mentioned she's a total academic beast. I've definitely got some catching up to do compared to her. Zhang Fengying, while busy steaming crabs, was shamelessly eavesdropping on us, witnessing Donga. When Hua prattling on like this, she looked absolutely self-satisfied. Her grin widened, the classic look of a mother-in-law sizing up a prime future son-in-law. I, however, was losing my damn mind. She and Zhang Fengying were basically partners in crime, and the cold Shen Jiayi was the ultimate executioner. This trio was nothing but trouble. Just, you wait, I'll settle the score with every single one of them. I cursed internally. In my past life, the mother and the daughter duo worked me into an early grave, and now they're stalking my new life. If it hadn't been for that messy divorce, I never would have taken that trip to find myself. If I hadn't embarked on that journey, I wouldn't have been moronic enough to chase cheap thrills and take the leap with bungee jumping for absolutely no reason. In this life, I vow to avoid two things. 1, I am never becoming your son-in-law, and 2, I am never touching a bungee cord again. Auntie, please make yourself comfortable. I'm gonna grab a change of clothes and hit the shower. Hold it right there. Wait just a second. Both women barked in perfect synchronization. What now? I stared at these two gatekeepers in sheer terror. Auntie. Dong Wenhua shot a meaningful look at Zhang Fengying, and Zhang Fengying immediately took the lead. Jiayi is currently taking a nap in your bedroom. In that instant, I felt the blood boil in my veins. I had to fight for my life to keep a neutral expression. Even with over a decade of experience. As a high-level manager, this shock nearly broke me. I blurted out with a hint of irritation. Fine, whatever, I'll handle that mess later. Mom, I'm heading out to fetch Dad. I bolted out the door. The moment I reached a secluded spot, my facial expression instantly turned ice cold. It wasn't until Lin Zhengguo and I returned together that I witnessed Aunt Dong Wenhua heading upstairs to summon Shen Jiayi. Down for the feast. The ground. Floor right past the entrance features. The living room and kitchen with the dining table centered there. The lounge area sits on the west side, so while the kitchen occupies the east, I was occupied serving dishes. When I caught sight of the two of them descending and shifted my gaze toward them, despite the fury simmering in my chest, I forced myself to take the initiative and offer a greeting. Hey there, I'm Lin Yu. You're welcome to just call me Xiao Yu. Shen Jiayi appeared slightly dazed by my sudden introduction. I see. Hello. Since this is our first encounter, I brought a gift for you. Just a second. After a brief flickering hesitation, she instantly regained her trademark icy composure. Yet she seemed uncharacteristically chatty, the sheer volume of words spilling from her lips had noticeably surged. A young maiden's prime is always radiating with pure vitality. Gazing at the distant Shen Jiayi, cheerfully dash away her ponytail. Bouncing in perfect rhythm, she looked somewhat aloof yet undeniably charming. Compared to my previous life, that cold barrier had thinned, making her feel much more human. She returned hauling 2 boxes and 4 shopping bags. These are 2 premium tracksuits I picked out for you, along with 2 pairs of high-end kicks. I selected the sizes based on Mom Jiang's intel. Give them a shot and see if the fit is right. Her rose-petal lips parted slightly, as she articulated every word with precision. Her voice was crystalline, echoing that classic proverb, like polished jade clattering on a silver platter. I extended both hands to accept the haul and offered my thanks. I stowed the gear in a corner of the lounge, and the whole group gathered around the dining table. Zhang Fengying busied herself with the serving chopsticks. Piling food onto Shen Jiayi's plate, I slightly scrunched my nose, cringing at my mom's blatant attempts to play matchmaker. Conversations flowed naturally throughout the meal, revolving around the nostalgia of the elder generation's youth and the relentless march of time. Every so often, I'd toss in a few comments, mostly regarding legendary tales from the 60s through the 80s. In those days, folks simply craved a peaceful life and felt blessed to find it. Once our summer feast concluded, the villagers typically ventured out for a leisurely stroll while others stayed glued to the TV. I'd wager the community square at the village entrance is currently popping. As for my folks and the Shen mother-daughter duo, we opted to lounge in the yard. I moved to ignite some mosquito coils while the rest of them gossiped away. Sister An Xiaoyu is a bit younger than Jiayi. Isn't he? Mother Shen inquired. That's right. A 3-year gap. One's an 82 baby 12. The other's from 85. Shen Jiayi spent the entire evening playing it. Completely cool. The shadows were too deep for me to read her egg. But hearing their conversation take this turn, I sensed a trap being laid, so I swiftly cut in. Aunt Dong is Sister Jiayi, your only child. Indeed, back when I relocated back to the city to marry her father between the strict family planning laws and our grueling work schedules. Jiayi was the only one we had. Mother Shen beamed at me with total approval. Perfect family intel confirmed. Well then, Auntie Ki, how would you feel about gaining a brand new son? I'd love for you to be my godmother. That way, you'll have a son to look after you. Since I'm also an only child, this means I'd finally have an older sister and wouldn't have to navigate life alone. Absolutely not, no way in hell. Both mothers barked their protest simultaneously. Following my proposal, the yard was suddenly plunged into an awkward silence. Jiang Fengying glared at me and declared, "You two have been promised to each other since the day you were born. A literal childhood betrothal." And Dong Wenhua nodded with absolute conviction. Shen Jiayi merely averted her gaze, treating silence like it was pure gold. No wonder everyone was acting so thirsty earlier. Even with the Shen family's elite status and wealth, there hadn't been any other suitors on the horizon. Holy crap. I looked toward my mother's, then scanned my father's face, finally checking Mother Shen to confirm this madness was real. In that moment, I chose violence. I looked Jiang Fengying dead in the eye and said, "Mom, the truth is I already have someone I'm into." Jiang Fengying's eyes nearly popped out as she jabbed a finger directly at my face. "Say that one more time." I said, "I've already got someone I'm into, Ayu," repeated with a playful smirk. "Try saying it again if you've actually got the stones." Jiang Fengying's tone turned ice cold as she retracted her finger and planted both palms firmly on her knees, knowing my mother's personality like the back of my hand. This was the universal signal that a beatdown was imminent. I immediately switched gears to play it safe. "Never mind, Hoys, I was totally just messing with you." But then I abruptly stood up and asked with a dead serious expression, "But doesn't Sister Jiayi likely already have a boyfriend in her life?" I mean, their family status would have to be a flawless match. Mom, stop trying to force this match. And Aunt Dong, surely you know all about Sister Jiayi and her secret boyfriend already. That's enough. Jiang Fengying shot me a piercing glare before glancing at Dong Wenhua and Shen Jiayi. "Get out of my sight and go get cleaned up. Tonight, you're crashing in the West Room on the ground floor." Yes, ma'am, with that snappy response. I pulled a disappearing act. When you're cornered by the brass, fleeing is the only viable tip. Strategy. I bolted while desperately cooking up a counterplan. Shen Jiayi's expression remained, completely unreadable as she stared into the abyss of the night. Dong Wenhua and Zhang Fengying locked eyes and, exchanging heavy silent glances, out in the sticks. Back then, summer showers meant relying on solar water bags. Those massive heat-absorbing black bladders. You fill them at dawn, let them bake in the sun all day, and by nightfall, the water is still decently lukewarm. Since I had some downtime, I decided to inspect the kicks Shen. Jaya gifted me one pair of Adidas, one pair of Nike. I slid on some socks and tested them. The fit was spot on. One full Adidas tracksuit one. Nike set some off-brand jeans and 2 fresh tees. This was a staggering display of luxury for someone in my position. My ex-wife was just as stunning in her youth as I remembered, and just as frigid, though not yet the tyrant she'd eventually become. In this new timeline, I refused to be indebted to her ever again. Facing the woman who was once my wife, my mental state was surprisingly zen. No more suffocating inferiority or desperate longing, just pure liberation. The weather was oppressive. Summer nights in the village are still incredibly muggy, with only a buzzing electric fan to cut through the heat. Yet the serene tranquility of the countryside, being harmoniously entwined with nature, is a luxury the concrete jungle can never replicate. The following morning, the sun ascended high, its golden lances piercing through wispy clouds and illuminating everything toward the west. The village roosters were screaming to herald the dawn, their cries occasionally punctuated by the distant rhythm of barking dogs. The sluggish pace of rural life leaves one's soul feeling exceptionally revitalized. I spent the night on the ground floor, stationed right next to the kitchen, before the first light even broke. Mom was already on the move. The rhythmic clatter of ceramic bowls, chopsticks, and cast iron pots filled the air, nestled under the quilts absorbing those sounds. A sudden surge of pure bliss washed over me. There is a specific brand of love known as Mom is fixing breakfast for you. The clock was barely striking 5 a.m. The Shen mother-daughter duo were still dead to the world. I crept toward Mom. Mom, did you summon Aunt Dong here? What's the endgame? Jiang. Fengying shot me a frigid glare and snapped. With pure irritation, raising a son is a literal debt of karma. What's so criminal about securing a wife for you, lol? How do you have the nerve to act like this is a burden? I muttered internally. It's not that I'm ungrateful. It's that they view me as beneath them. In my previous life, if it weren't for my future father-in-law's clout, I wouldn't have stood a ghost of a chance at marrying Shen. Jiayi, let's be real, money talks and massive wealth screams. But looking back with fresh eyes, the elder's intuition was actually terrifyingly accurate. I consider myself a top-tier husband prospect. For building a lasting legacy, Shen Jiayi would have to be legally blind to miss my worth. Yet I also squandered 15 years in that mess. A masterclass in mutual suffering. I hunkered down to stoke the stove. The summer embers radiated a stifling, oppressive heat. Gazing at my tireless mother cooking, I frantically scanned my mind for a way to stop her from forcing this union, before she accidentally sabotages her son's entire future. Mom back in the old days did the landlord's daughter ever spare a single glance for the lowly farmhands? I threw out a deep, philosophical curveball. Zhang Fengying hit me with a side eye dripping with disdain, and returned her focus to the sizzling vegetables. That look spoke volumes. What on earth do you know about life, Mazel? In her world, I was still just a naive, mouthy kid. Mom, think about it. Back in your era, the guys serving under, those poor saps often get dragged out and thrashed by their in-laws. Isn't their food worse than a dog's scraps? Completely ignoring the menacing aura radiating from my mother, pressed on with my mental warfare. Zhang Fengying's hand, clinging to the spatula, froze for a heartbeat before she resumed, aggressively tossing the pan, stubbornly refusing to entertain her precious son. I listened to the symphony of the steel spatula clashing against the iron pan, the tempo accelerating and the noise becoming deafening. I knew that even if Mom remained tight-lipped, my words had undeniably struck a nerve. Otherwise, she wouldn't be stir-frying with such violence. I immediately doubled down with the third strike. Mom, those guys who married into the wife's family back in the day, did they truly have to sleep on the cold floor or crawl into the cowshed at night like cattle? Zhang Fengying was still reeling from the first 2 questions, when the third one landed like a heavy blow. It suddenly felt as if she was shoving her own son into a furnace. The version of her now couldn't possibly know that she actually did cast her son into a pit of fire in the past. Furious indignation began to simmer within her. A son is a mother's ultimate treasure. If anyone dared to treat her flesh and blood like trash, she'd be ready to throw hands and risk it all. The more she reflected, the more her blood began to boil. Mom suddenly delivered a sharp kick to my hip, sending her darling son tumbling right onto the dirt. Ow, Mom, what the hell was that for? I played the victim, putting on the most pathetic, innocent face I could muster. Zhang Fengying immediately cringed in disgust. For the love of God, just act like a normal person. Hell. Yes, ma'am, I muttered with feigned obedience, acting as submissive and well-behaved as a trained pet. I continued. The part about her having a boyfriend is legit, Mom. She didn't even try. Denying it. Besides, they're classic childhood sweethearts who grew up side by side, you know? So what exactly are you getting at? Zhang Fengying felt a strange sense of unease. It seemed as though her son was completely slipping out of her grasp lately. He was playing a dangerous game, so acting like he was leading her around by the nose. I'll tell you, but you have to promise not to blow up, Loy. I started. The Shens are obscenely wealthy, and she's both drop-dead gorgeous and a genius. Why in the world would a girl like that ever settle for your son? Even if she actually deigned to spare a glance onto, your son wouldn't stand a snowball's chance in hell. I'm giving you some straight-up advice, Miyots. Kill that idea immediately. I took a sharp breath. Look at it this way, Onto. Given the Shen family's elite status cell, paired with Sister Jiayi's undeniable brilliance, every rich playboy from the city, and every heir to a corporate tycoon, will be throwing themselves at her feet. Mom, the reality is that this society is already split into rigid classes, while our family isn't rolling in dough. We're well-fed and comfortably clothed. We aren't desperate. I really want to negotiate a truce with you. Can we please stop pushing this forced marriage? Zhang Fengying skillfully plated the food and covered it with a basin to trap the heat. Mom, Tong, give me something here. Well, seeing her maintain that stoic silence and ghost me, I pressed her one last time. Just go pick 2 tomatoes for me. I grimaced in frustration. I mean, she's actually processing what I said, right? But after delivering the tomatoes to my mother, I headed to the yard to help Dad with the fishing nets. Some sections were shredded, and Dad was determined to patch them up himself. I flicked out a pack of smokes and offered him one, then sparked one up for myself. Exhaling a cloud of smoke, I studied Dad's face. The deep furrows from my past life hadn't claimed him yet. My mood suddenly lifted. Lin Zhengguo slowly pivoted, his head snapping out of his daze. Locked eyes with me and asked, so you're not vibing with that girl? It's not that, Dad. It's that I'm nowhere near her league. Is that how you see it? Looks or brains, I'm lagging miles behind. If we were forced together, both our families kiss. Everyone in this circle would be miserable forever. But the absolute deal breaker is she's already got a childhood sweetheart as a boyfriend. They've been inseparable since they were in diapers or my goals, and their bond is still rock solid even now. No matter what kind of pressure I face, I will never sign off on this. Anyone with a shred of dignity would feel the same about, don't you think, Dad? Lin Zhengguo took a massive drag of his cigarette, exhaled a thick plume and said, my boy has finally matured. I'm getting old, and I actually back your perspective on this. Now spill it. How are we going to handle your mom? On it, sir. Linro. Zhengguo instantly regretted being so open with his troublemaker son. Seriously, what a juvenile mindset. The father-son duo worked in perfect harmony. In my previous life, I never realized how precious this was, nay. But now he was putting in serious work, because he was genuinely enjoying himself. And up in my second-floor bedroom, Shen Jiayi stood on the balcony, peering down at us as we toiled in the courtyard. The corner of her lips quirked ever so slightly, her soulful eyes flashing with a brief, unreadable spark. Mother Shen materialized behind her unnoticed. Jiayi, why on earth are you spacing out like that? That boy is quite a catch, isn't he? Mom, what are you even on about? I'm starving. Is it finally time to eat, Mom? Your aunt wrapped up early just to wait for you. Let's move to the dining table. Breakfast was a feast: tomato egg soup, savory beef buns, crispy dried radish corn grits porridge, and boiled eggs. Maybe it was the early wake-up call, or perhaps reincarnation had supercharged my metabolism, or maybe some weird physical mutation was kicking in it, but I felt like a literal bottomless pit. Once the table was cleared, the hours ticked by, with the typical small talk of house guests. If a guest doesn't make the first move to bail the host, absolutely never under any circumstances, suggest they leave. I let out another silent sigh. Is this nightmare ever going to end? I decided to shadow the old man today when Lin Zhengguo geared up to head out to sea. I was glued to his heels. A second later, Zhang Fengying's voice rang out, "Shall you get back here?" "Yes, ma'am," I answered on autopilot. But internally, I was screaming with frustration. Now what kind of ridiculousness is this? I didn't drag my feet for a second. Instantly, I was back in the living room waiting for orders. Jiayi wants to go beachcombing for some fresh seafood. Take her along, will you, Sol? See if you two can scavenge anything decent. Copy that. I finally locked eyes with Shen Jiayi. She was rocking a designer denim miniskirt, a crisp white tee, and a fancy watch. Gear that was 0% suitable for the shoreline. Mom grabbed me a sun hat. And find that old, clean middle school tracksuit. For her, I turned to Shen Jiayi and stated, well, sister, you'd better wear a hat. Rock those long sleeves, take your watch off and snap on some gloves or you'll be lobster red and covered in nasty scratches. Did you at least pack sneakers? Shen Jiayi noted my dead serious vibe and responded, "Oh, my kicks are still in the car. As for the rest, I'll follow your lead." "Right, let me scavenge some gloves for you, what's up? Then we can hit the road." Mother let me borrow a pair of arm sleeves, the eyes of O. Dong Wenhua suddenly ignited with a strange radiant glow. "Little Yu is such a sweetheart, Batia. And so considerate, he's got everything sorted. Auntie, you're practically begging me to bag your daughter right now. Honestly, you're getting way ahead of yourself. This version of Xiao Yu is absolutely not touching your family's precious flower. Whoever wants her can take her. Not to flex, but I wouldn't even spare her a second glance." Actually, this whole situation is becoming a major buzzkill. Nobody had a clue what was swirling through my mind. Once Shen Jiayi was geared up and the two of us made our move. Lin Jingguo had vanished ages ago. I guided Shen Jiayi tracking my old man's fresh footprints. I forged ahead in the lead, while Shen Jiayi lagged slightly behind, her eyes glued to my youthful silhouette. Perhaps due to the coastal breeze, the wind was howling, causing Shen Jiayi's eyes to flush a faint red. I was leading the way, so I was completely oblivious. Both of us just marched in heavy silence. I wasn't rushing, but I wasn't being a total ice king either. Shen Jiayi finally shattered the quiet. "Lin Yu, that college you got into is Fengcheng University, right? What major?" "Yeah, my Fengcheng University, specializing into mechatronic engineering." Shen Jiayi pressed again. "Have you ever even set foot in Fengcheng Shua? When the semester kicks off, I'll drive you." I shot back, "Yo, I've already locked in plans to go with my crew. Yeah. But thanks for the offer." Internally, I was low-key mocking her. Not only have I ventured there before, I survived there for 4 grueling years. I was dead set on avoiding any further entanglements with Shen Jiayi. So I shut her down instantly. Shen Jiayi didn't anticipate me being so cut and dry, yet she didn't lose her cool. "Hey, Lin Yu, what's sprouting in those fields?" She gestured toward the corn and asked, That's just corn. The porridge we devoured this morning was made from that." As we trekked further, I began identifying the various crops we encountered along the path. To a city-bred girl like Shen Jiayi, every bit of greenery was a novel and fascinating discovery. After a solid 20-minute hike, the vast shimmering ocean finally exploded into view, stretching endlessly toward the horizon. In the far distance, the water deepened into a rich sapphire blue. The sky today was crystal clear with only a few wispy clouds, and the sea remained tranquil, lulling us with gentle waves. The shoreline appeared quite so, vibrant and busy. There weren't many tourists in sight. It was mostly weathered fishermen grinding for a living. To the left of the entrance lay a long golden stretch of sand. To the right were the mudflats and jagged rocky reefs. This was the prime spot where the best seafood was hidden. A small hillside rose about 10 meters above the tide where it collided with the water's edge, exposing massive ancient boulders. Tucked among the rocks was a deep, narrow trench, a serpentine trail, twisting and turning that a person could navigate to reach the shoreline, to hunt for seafood. However, the path was treacherous, uneven, and a nightmare to traverse. Definitely not for the faint of heart. I forged ahead to lead, cautiously descending the slope. Paused to check if Shen Jiayi could handle the rough terrain solo. As it turns out, I had completely underestimated her grit. Her movements were surprisingly nimble, and her footing was incredibly balanced. She continued her descent without hesitation, pausing only to observe before repeating the cycle, until she finally touched down on solid ground safely. I maintained my lead further ahead, guiding Shen Jiayi to scavenge for clams and sea snails. Before we tracked down the old man, I glanced back over my shoulder at her and suggested, "Let's go hunt for some fresh seafood. We can throw together an extra dish for lunch. Sound good, Mo?" As I spoke, my gaze lingered on the Shen Jiayi standing before me. Compared to the woman, she becomes a Shen Jiayi, overflowing with this much youthful radiance. How could any man not lose his heart to her? But as for me, I truly couldn't care less. Shen Jiayi beamed with excitement. "That sounds incredible. What a devious trap I've laid," I mused to myself. "Now that the plan's set, let's get our hands dirty. Pay close attention while I show you the ropes." And just like that, the two of us dove into the grind. It didn't take long to secure a respectable haul. When she's vibing, her entire aura seems to radiate light. Of course, I'm referring to Shen Jiayi. For her, taking charge and being self-reliant is pure bliss. This is the quintessential Shen Jiayi. She doesn't need a handout, she finds satisfaction in the hustle. I moved us to a more grueling task, hunting sea snails, which meant maneuvering through treacherous rocky ledges. I was low-key worried she'd slip or get mangled. Shen Jiayi was surprisingly lithe, and her insane stamina allowed her to navigate the terrain with ease. Currently, she was hunkered down low-weed, white-knuckling the edge of a jagged boulder desperately, extending one leg to scout for a foothold, before committing her weight to the next rock. I still couldn't stop myself from stealing a few stray glances, even in a baggy school uniform, those endless legs and her silhouette in that stance. were honestly a total thirst trap. What a scumbag move, just recovered and already ignoring the trauma. I felt a surge of self-loathing and forced my eyes elsewhere. Amitabha, keep your head in the game and find those snails. A full hour ticked by. Thanks to our relentless efforts, we bagged over 20 Babylon snails of all sizes. Shen, Jiai was literally glowing with triumph. I couldn't help but think how cracked the spawn rates were back then. Nothing like my past life, Tay, where an hour's grind would only net you a handful. Is it really worth this much hype? Shen Jiai was still going hard, channeling the energy of a total workaholic. Deadly serious and hyper-focused, a few stray locks of hair framed. Her flushed cheeks, beads of sweat weren't heavy enough to drop mics, instead shimmering on the ends of her hair. That image of her grinding away and glistening with sweat showing off that flawless side profile, so it radiated peak main character energy. Shen Jiai reached up to flick her hat brim, using her fingers, to brush back the loose strands, her piercing gaze locking onto mine. Suddenly, Shen Jiai's face erupted into a breathtakingly radiant smile. She stayed glued to my heels, completely unfazed by the grime or the rolling sweat. Both of us trekked toward my old man. My eyes darted around like a hawk as I primed myself to launch. The opening psychological salvo, just as we gained momentum, so I deliberately checked my pace, waiting for Shen Jiai to pull up side by side with me. I pivoted and dropped the question, Chol. So does your boyfriend go to the same university as you, Swal? Shen Jiai froze in her tracks, her sharp phoenix eyes boring holes into me. Noticing my gaze was nothing but pure genuine curiosities. She maintained her stoic silence and simply gave a slow head shake. I immediately landed the second blow. You're stunning, so I'm betting the line of guys saw. Chasing you probably stretches for miles, right? Was a faint flush of pink crept across Shen Jiai's face. I couldn't tell if it was the heat from the sun. Becoming too much to handle, she shot me a sideways glare that could melt steel, still refusing to speak. Oh. Silence is gold. We both kept our eyes on the path. I looked at Shen Jiai and said, Sis, it's official from this moment on, you're like a real big sister to me, Q. After all, you've just gained a loyal younger brother. Taking in my dead serious expression, and the words that sounded like they were ripped straight from my soul, Shen Jiai initially kept up her icy facade. She paused to process for a heartbeat, and after a few more strides, a brilliant, genuine smile finally bloomed across her face. She stopped dead and declared, well, all right then, little brother. At that, I was absolutely ecstatic. I had finally locked in the first layer of my safety net. The weight on my chest completely vanished. Following that, I initiated conversation with Shen Jiai, more frequently making sure to steer clear of people and trauma from my previous timeline. Arriving at the spot where Dad was hauling his lines and souls, I began demonstrating the art of harvesting, the ocean's bounty, and the secrets to securing a top-tier catch. About 30 minutes later, my father dragged the rubber tire. Float back to the shallows, I lunged to grab the sack from the float and coached Shen Jiai on the proper way to sort fish and shrimp. To ensure the seafood remains pristine and delicious, you have to submerge them in a bucket of fresh seawater. This float was actually an old car inner tube, the heavy-duty kind from a truck pumped with enough air that its buoyancy in the tide is massive. The center gap was reinforced with rope into a sturdy net. In shallow waters, it's a total game changer. To haul your cargo, you just need a simple rope to tug it along. Oh, Shen Jiai is completely obsessed with seafood. Shrimp, fish, clams, or snails, she's head over heels for all of them. So when she laid eyes on this massive haul, she was absolutely ecstatic. She immediately hunkered down to sort them. Lin Yu, what's the name of this particular fish, Gip? What's the best way to cook this to make it delicious, she asked. The locals around here dubbed it the big head fish, since its noggin is oversized while its body is tiny. Sun-drying them is definitely the way to go. Gut them, give them a thorough scrub, so marinate them in salt and let them bake under the scorching sun. Once they're dried, fry them to a perfect golden brown. Pairing them with corn grits porridge is a total vibe. I caught her expression. You're totally craving this, aren't you? I'll make sure Mom whips some up for you later. Shen Jiai nodded with pure hype. Right then, my dad plunged back into the depths. On his stilts. This time, he was diving to retrieve the traps. Those traps were submerged in the deep zones so using stilts was a non-negotiable. Shen Jiai watched my father's every move with intense focus, waiting impatiently for even more exotic ocean treasures. Nearly a full hour later, my dad finally made his way back. This time the loot included sea snails, stone crabs, and blue crabs. Around these parts, people call those flying crabs. This time, I didn't let her anywhere near them, Yeek. Terrified she might get a nasty pinch. With skin that fair and flawless, getting a gash would be no laughing matter. Stone crab. Claws are insanely powerful. If they lock onto your hand, they'll shred your flesh in a heartbeat. I skillfully sorted the catch and tossed them into the bucket. The deep-seated satisfaction of a true seafarer welled up inside my chest. Perhaps this is a primal instinct passed down through bloodlines, toiling for and harvesting a vital food source. The sheer euphoria that stems from crushing the fear of tomorrow's hunger. Since the dawn of time, our ancestors mastered the art of stockpiling. Throughout this entire morning adventure, the bounty we secured was truly legendary. At this moment, Shenjiai looks breathtaking. Right now, I'm merely appreciating the radiant, youthful aura of the goddess. I truly feel like I've broken free from that cursed downward spiral. It's high noon now. Seafarers must retreat homeward to secure their haul. My old man cranked up his battered three-wheeled bike, hauling the gear and fresh bounty as he zoomed away. The two of us just meandered back toward the house. As the tide surged, the waves began crashing with fury. During the trek back, the two of us started vibing much more than before. I felt like once I personally established the strict boundaries for this dynamic, the defensive guard I'd built up finally started to crumble. Shen Jiayi was acting like a wide-eyed, curious child, and we shared laughs and stories all the way back home at last. Showering and swapping out clothes went on as usual. Lunch today was a straight-up legendary seafood feast. Once the meal was thoroughly demolished, the whole family lounged around making small talk. Shen's mom brought up heading back to the city. Auntie Fengying pushed multiple times to get them to stay, but Shen's mom politely bailed them. Before they hit the road, the Lin family loaded them up with gifts: dried fish, dried scallops, frozen catches, fresh treats, and shrimp paste, all of it crammed tightly into the car's trunk. Auntie Dong Wenhua pulled me in close and studied my face, that affectionate gaze of hers almost making me buckle. A heartbeat later, she whispered, "Once you arrive in Bingcheng, you better call me, you hear me, ball? I'm going to treat you to a truly epic meal. You accept this red envelope? It's for your college success." Before I could even blink, she shoved it directly into my palm. Judging by the thickness, it was a hefty stacks of cash. I excitedly thanked her from the bottom of my heart. Suddenly, a flash of memory hit me. How amazingly my in-laws treated me in my previous life. I actually felt a bit emotional. I told Auntie Dong Wenhua, "So, don't you think you're lacking a son? Look at me, yes. I'm sharp, Maya. I've got the gift of gab and I'm full of energy, cool. Not to mention, I'm a man of my word. Why don't you consider the upgrade key?" Dong Wenhua shot me a playful side eye, and then gave me a gentle verbal swat. But, "You little troublemaker, when you're at school, keep your eyes on the books. Whenever you've got a break, come find me at my place. I'll whip up a feast that'll blow your mind." She stopped indulging my jokes and turned to bid a final farewell to Jiang Fengying, Shen Jiayi, and her mother fired up the engine and sped off. Jiang Fengying watched them go with a heavy heart, after seeing them off, trailing them all the way to the village entrance. As I watched the car gradually fade into the distance, I stood behind Mom, quietly observing her. The reason Mom maintained her bond with Auntie Dong for over 2 decades, evolving from those nostalgic, handwritten letters to modern-day phone calls, was purely due to the beautiful spirit of that era. Nowadays, classmates might hoard each other's contact info, but won't even drop a hello for a decade. Back then, life moved slow, and a lifetime was just enough to love one person. In this day and age, everyone is obsessed with speed. Sometimes, romance feels no different from a cup of instant noodles. I've made up my mind to find a truly untainted love. If I can't find that spark, I'd rather stay single than ever settle. I must find a soul who actually gives a damn, and worries about my well-being with total sincerity. A girl who is ready to go all in for me too. The summer breeze drifted by, warmly whisking away my heavy schemes. When the heart is finally unburdened, life feels vast and full of light. Happiness remains the ultimate priority. The sweltering afternoon sun glared with a blinding intensity, especially for travelers heading south like them. Auntie Dong Wenhua was behind the wheel, forcing her to shield her eyes with sunglasses. With the AC pumping a frigid chill through the cabin, the sensation was incredibly revitalizing. Auntie Dong tilted her head slightly to catch a glimpse of her daughter beside her, then locked her focus back on the pavement. She asked, "What? My precious daughter, see, did you actually enjoy yourself out in the sticks, what?" Shen Jiayi got lost in thought and replied, "Yes, it was honestly amazing, Mom. Everything felt so fresh and my head feels so much clearer." Auntie Dong pressed further. "Want to head back if the opportunity pops up, what?" Jiayi's mother inquired with a smile. "Absolutely, if the chance arises, I'm definitely going back, Scavenging for seafood was an absolute blast, Mom. But about that betrothal deal you mentioned to Auntie Jiang last night, what was that? Huh? It's a long, complicated story, sweetie." Auntie Dong began to drift into the past. She pulled the car to the shoulder, because if her daughter was asking, she was going to lay out the entire history. "Years ago, I was sent to the countryside to stay at a youth station with barely enough to eat. The living conditions were honestly atrocious, but the Jiang family back then in that tiny village was one of the elite few that actually had food and warm clothes, because the Jiang household was overflowing with sons. Jiang Fengying was the treasured youngest daughter with 4 protective older brothers. In those days, the more sons a household boasted, the more clout they carried, and nobody dared to cross them. Auntie Jiang's personality was naturally fierce and blunt, so she frequently acted as a shield for the soft-spoken Dong Wenhua. It didn't take long for the two of them to become inseparable. Zhang Fengying also frequently helped your mother grind out extra labor points. The winter before Auntie returned to the city, the pair each trekked up the mountain for firewood to secure a massive haul. They ventured deep into the heart of the dense forest. Tragically, they crossed paths with 4 predatory striped wolves. Dong Wenhua was so paralyzed with fear her legs turned to jelly. She could only collapse and weep. But Auntie Zhang, with her legendary fiery temper, seeing her best friend in such a state, brandished a 2-meter staff to face off against the pack. Thanks to her brothers being elite hunters, Auntie had mastered a few survival skills of her own. Thus, Zhang Fengying didn't betray even a hint of panic. The golden rule when facing wolves is to never strike first. Always lock eyes with them and use a staff to obstruct their narrow path whenever they attempt to close the distance. Meanwhile, you must possess God-tier patience. Don't get reckless trying to injure it. Instead, use sheer stubbornness to hold your ground and absolutely never turn tail and run. Because the second you bolt, it will lunge at your back up. And no human can ever outpace a hungry wolf. Just like that, Auntie Jiang stood as a sentinel for Auntie Dong. Zhang Fengying glared with primal fury, staring them down. Vicious wolf, Dong Wenhua gradually regained her composure and followed Zhang Fengying's sharp instructions, clutching a long staff to cover her friend's blind spot. The ravenous wolves were insidiously cunning. The alpha wolf began to lose its cool and let out a howl intending to summon the rest of the pack. At that critical moment, Auntie Jiang's second and third brothers, who were seasoned hunters prowling the winter woods, approached like ghosts with their hunting rifles. Waiting for the perfect opening, they opened fire decisively. Following 2 thunderous gunshots, 2 wolves collapsed on the spot. The survivors scrambled and vanished. Since that fateful day, Dong Wenhua clung to Zhang Fengying even more fiercely after that. Captivated by the absolute sense of security she exuded, Auntie Volip Dong wore a soft smile while narrating, yet she couldn't help letting out several heavy sighs. If it weren't for Zhang Fengying's bravery, I likely wouldn't be breathing today. When the time came to part ways, our heartbreak was so profound that we forged that betrothal pact as a promise for the future. Dong Wenhua returned to the city to crush her college entrance exams. Yet the two of them still religiously exchanged letters to share the chapters of their lives. Shen Jiai was completely spellbound by the tale lost in a daze. So, sweetheart, what's your take on Xiao Yuguo? Do you actually have feelings for him? Dong Wenhua teased. She countered him. He's actually decent. He genuinely knows how to look after people and is incredibly perceptive. Shen Jiai offered her assessment. Dong Wenhua beamed at her daughter with pride. Looking at her, she's clearly a top-tier student. Her intuition is razor-sharp. Between Wang Yu and Xiao Yu, which one actually captures your interest, Dong Wenhua continued to grill her daughter playfully. Shen Jiai retreated into a thoughtful silence. But honestly, even if you do like him, it's a dead end. Auntie Jiang's current vibe is to officially scrap that old pact. Haha, what a total shame. I'm actually a huge fan of Xiao Yu myself, Dong Wenhua continued, poking at her daughter. Shen Jiai still maintained her quiet facade, only widening those bright vertical stunning eyes as she waited for her mother to spill the rest. Dong Wenhua noted her daughter's expectant gaze and decided to finally cut the teasing. She remarked, I've been low-key analyzing Lin Yu, and I see a level of swagger and maturity in him that is light years beyond his actual age. He doesn't shamelessly suck up to us just because we're loaded. Perhaps he's calculated the social standing of both families and realized the chasm between us is just too vast. Besides, it's blatant that you're elite from your lineage. To your aesthetics and talent, Xiao Yu is definitely handsome and holds his own in the classroom, but he's still not quite on your level yet. Putting myself in his headspace, I actually respect Xiao Yu's final call. He's terrified that everyone would just end up miserable because a union isn't just about 2 individuals. Marriage is the collision of 2 families. That young man is easily the most formidable guy of his generation I've ever encountered. After dropping that bombshell, she glanced at her daughter, Shen Jiai, interlaced her fingers, her thumbs rubbing together in a restless rhythm. Dong Wenhua didn't dare break her concentration. She was determined to cultivate her daughter's capacity for independent thought. Nearly 10 minutes of heavy silence passed. It appeared that Shen Jiai had finally snapped back to reality. Dong Wenhua spoke up, if you ever choose Wang Yu, your father and I will never grant our blessing. That's it. The life he led while living abroad was far too reckless. I refuse to let my precious daughter wed a man with such a bankrupt moral character. However, I have only one non-negotiable for you, Hio. First, you must grasp the true essence of love. and the weight of what a marriage entails. Why do you think I brought you to meet him, Nagilad? Because I'm certain any child raised by Sister Yingzi is destined to be nothing short of extraordinary. His humanity and integrity are bound to be elite tier. Dong Wenhua let the word sink in for a moment. After this encounter, I'm even more impressed. Truthfully, if you give me the green light, well, I will go all out to collaborate with the Sister Yingzi to make this match happen. I'd be perfectly fine with holding the wedding this very second. He's incredibly considerate, impeccably organized Maus, and possesses a natural gift for protecting others. He navigates complex social waters with total finesse, yet keeps his core principles locked in tight. He is genuinely the ultimate candidate for the perfect son-in-law, hahaha. So what's your verdict? Shen Jiai's expression darkened, her gaze drifting toward the horizon. Dong Wenhua assumed her daughter was still hung up on Wang Yu. Deep down, she understood the grip of her daughter's childhood sweetheart, fantasies and lingering delusions. Thus she opted for silence. She cranked the engine and steered them toward home. Shen Jiayi remained a ghost of silence for the entire trip. The two didn't exchange another word. As darkness fell, they finally pulled into Xiang, Shanju, a prestigious old-money villa district in Bingcheng, crafted in the elegant Republic of China aesthetic. The security here is notoriously ironclad. They only granted passage once they recognized the Shen family crest. Upon entering the estate, the mother summoned Shenfu to assist in hauling the bounty inside. Shenfu was practically vibrating with anticipation, immediately asking if they'd secured the corn grits and dried fish. Once he realized they had brought back a massive haul, he cheered, fantastic, simply legendary. Dong Wenhua watched her husband's joy unfold, which ignited her own excitement as she began, recounting the wild experiences of her 2-day trip. She followed him into the kitchen to prep a feast. Meanwhile, Shen Jiayi retreated to her sanctuary after a refreshing shower and a change. She took her seat before the vanity mirror. As she dried her hair, her reflection stared back at her, her mind replaying her mother's heavy revelations. Her pensive expression shifted from a troubled, knotted frown to a look of absolute clarity and ironclad resolve. Shenfu assisted his wife in the kitchen, seizing the opportunity to grill her about me. Dong Wenhua sighed with a flicker of irritation. The kid is incredible, straight-up top-tier son-in-law material. The only catch is he doesn't seem to be vibing with our Jiayi. Well, it's not exactly that he's not interested, but he has zero desire to play the social climbing game. He actually had Sister Yingzi tell me that the engagement is off and she's just following Lin Yu's lead. Shenfu absorbed the news and sank into a deep, silent contemplation. Dong Wenhua continued praising my sharp character and maturity. Shenfu questioned, is this kid truly that legendary? I'll have to judge him for myself when the time comes. Dong Wenhua countered, meeting him won't change. The reality, I just have this gut feeling shot. It's almost as if the second I laid eyes on that boy, I was totally sold. I just desperately want him in our family. So, even though we aren't blood was, he feels so familiar, it's like I'm having a total hallucination that he was already my son-in-law in another life. Shenfu froze his face, a mask of pure disbelief. What? Rubbish. The summer heat is clearly making you lose it. Dong Wenhua snapped back, believe whatever you want. But the way he looked at me, it was unmistakable. Lin Yu even had the audacity to suggest I be his godmother. If Sister Yingzi and I hadn't shut that down, I would have returned with a son. Ugh. I'm done trying to explain this to you. The more I think about it, the more I see he's calculatedly avoiding our family entirely. No wonder things felt so off. Now the pieces are finally falling into place. That brat essentially wants zero ties to our household. He's pulling a masterclass retreat to advance move. Absolute high-level strategy. To be rejected so, bluntly, I'm officially triggered. In a fit of pique, she slammed the fish onto the cutting board. You finish the cooking, I'm going to cool off. Shenfu stood there stunned. What the hell does this have to do with me, so? Dong Wenhua's chest heaved with indignation, fuming because I was so blatantly distancing myself. Dong Wenhua cursed under her breath, that little brat. My family's treasure is absolute top tier, Yet, this pig doesn't even want to take a nibble. Seriously, this is beyond infuriating. In the dead of summer, the atmosphere was suffocating. Even at dawn, it felt like a total furnace. The cicadas began their relentless day's work. They just love to wail regardless of whether anyone in this world vibes with their song. As long as they're vibing, it's all good. It was another legendary day. Once the Shen, mother and daughter vanished, Lin Yu felt a massive weight lift. Lin Yu flung open the balcony windows, narrowing his gaze as he hungrily inhaled the morning air. It was honestly too relaxing. Even the breeze tasted sweet. Lin Yu roared, "To the heavens, I'm free as the wind." Right then, Jiang Feng Ying poked her head out from the ground floor, glared at him and barked, "Get your butt down here now," Lin Yu dizzily replied, "On it, Mom." After breakfast, Lin Yu helped his old man patch up the weathered fishing nets. The tide was surging in at 10 a.m., so Lin Zhenguo didn't launch early. Lin Yu asked, Dad, it's almost jellyfish. Season right, you expecting a massive haul this year, tuh. Lin Zhenguo, still buried in his work, grunted, K. I haven't quite decided yet. These past few days, people have only been snagging a few scraps here and there. Lin Yu recalled last year's insane harvest. His dad hauled in 300 to 500 kilograms daily. By the end of that run, they cleared over 20 million. There's a massive gap between sea jellyfish and cut jellyfish. Cut jellyfish are the budget option. Sea jellyfish are premium, but cut jellyfish are bulky and heavy, while the sea variety are compact and light. Once sea jellyfish are landed, the hair must be purged. Decapitating the head from the body, then rinse thoroughly with fresh water. Alum is the key for the pickling process. Without adding a single drop of extra water, letting the jellyfish drain naturally. Sometimes brokers swarm to buy the entire stock right at the shoreline. Deep down, so I was secretly crunching the numbers to flip a profit. Once his dad finished the repairs, the nets, he stashed his equipment into the trailer slow and hauled it home for a quick breather, eyes glued to the clock, to prep for the next massive departure. Lin Yu gathered his gear ready to conquer the waves with his old man. The trailer ride was such a violent tremor it nearly scrambled his stomach. The days drifted by in a blur like that. Lin Yu basked in the most tranquil and rewarding days of his life, cherishing the fact that his entire family was still vibrant and healthy. Lin Yu was obsessively counting his fingers, crunching the numbers, patiently awaiting the arrival of Saturday, July 10th. Because by the deadline on Sunday, July 11th, it would be prime time for Uncle Wang to strike that July jackpot. The sky was a piercing cloudless blue as Lin Yu jolted awake in the early hours. After a quick meal, he immediately ignited his master plan into action. His strategy was simple, secure only one specific set of numbers mirrored exactly after the vertical bar. Legendary winning sequence Uncle Wang once held. Keep the 6 red numbers locked in, and for the remaining 15 blue numbers, he'd go full throttle with 200 tickets for every single one. Snagging just 4 red numbers would already yield a massive profit. Hitting 3 red numbers plus a blue would be a minor setback. Lin Yu was playing a game of probability. He reasoned that even if fate shifted slightly, the blue number was the most volatile variable. Using Uncle Wang's precise code, why on earth would he only buy a single set? He requested a leave of absence from Boss Jiang and hit the pavement at exactly 9 o'clock. Mounting his trusty iron steed, the roads were blissfully empty with zero gridlock. He accelerated straight toward the town's lottery agency. The place hadn't been open for long, yet it was already swarming with hopeful souls. Lin Yu stood patiently in line, musing to himself. These people are the unsung heroes of the National Welfare Fund Gauge, fully aware that only a chosen few would be blessed enough to seize the grand prize. But hey, it's a charitable act while purchasing a fleeting spark of hope. Finally, it was his moment. Lin Yu retrieved the red envelope from his almost mother-in-law, extracted 6,000 yuan and tossed in 2 more for the tickets. Double-checking every digit, everything was flawlessly precise. He meticulously tucked the golden tickets into his wallet, then stowed the wallet securely inside his backpack. The lottery agent stood there completely paralyzed in confusion. He had never witnessed anyone gamble with such calculated madness before. Lin Yu naturally didn't give a damn what the owner imagined. He throttled his bike and cruised toward the bustling market, small intending to score a prime cut of beef. Lately, my metabolism has been working overtime. Yet, I'm not packing on even a gram of fat. I realized I desperately needed to fuel up and nourish myself. Once I dreamt of roaming the horizon with a blade, witnessing the world's glory with a restless, youthful heart. He softly hummed a legendary anthem from his previous life. Pedaling home and dropping off the groceries, he sprinted straight to his room to stash those precious lottery tickets in a secure hiding spot. Seeing his mom perched there snapping green beans, Lin Yu dragged over a chair to help her out. While working the beans, he casually tossed out a question. Mom, why didn't you and Dad go for another kid back in the day? Be it a brother or sister, I would have protected them. Jiang. Feng Jing shot him a sharp look and retorted. Popping out another kid back then meant an astronomical fine, son. Back in those times, no household had the cash to pay that. Besides, raising just one of you was already an uphill battle. How on earth would we have survived another mouth wokries? Lin Yu paused to reflect and realized his mom was spitting facts. Mom, I'm about to ship off to university soon. I'll only be showing my face here once every 6 months. Aren't you and Dad going to feel empty in this house, Maya? Zhang Fengjing had no clue what her son was plotting this time around, so she leveled him with a gaze full of pure suspicion. Lin Yu said with total gravity. Mom, I honestly think you and Dad should seriously consider going for a second child now. Yuck. Zhang Fengjing's eyes nearly popped as she hissed, what utter drivel. Are you asking me to break your legs? Lin Yu wore. Why are you overreacting? Xiao's expression. Mom, I'm being 100% dead serious. Lin Yu continued, my grades are through the roof. and my career path is looking rock solid too. Providing for my own family down the line won't be an issue. I'll handle my career and my own wedding expenses solo. You really need to weigh my proposal carefully. I'm coming from a place of total sincerity. In the future, I can bankroll my sibling from day one. They can stick with me in the city starting from elementary school. Later, if you and dad prefer the rural life, that's fine. So. But if you want the city vibe, you can move in with me. Zhang Fengying scrutinized her son with deep distrust, noting that his face was almost comically intense. If he was playing some sort of prank, Mom was definitely going to lay down the law on Lin Yu. After a tense silence, Zhang Fengying realized her son wasn't just messing around with it. So she simply barked, "Get out of my face!" Lin Yu wore a smug, knowing grin and teased, "Oh, my dear stubborn mother." Lin Yu wandered out into the courtyard, lighting a cigarette while muttering under his breath, "They seriously need a spare heir. Heaven only knows when I might get isekai'd out of here again. Having a sibling would be legendary, so at least I'd have a target to nag once in a while." While puffing away, he ran a hand through his mane and realized it was getting shaggy. He ducked inside to snatch some pocket money and trekked toward the town square. It was the peak of the season. The men were out battling the waves and the wives were busy in the kitchen. Van Chi's barbershop was deserted, so Lin Yu strolled in with a smirk, scanning the room. He spotted a woman with her hair swept into a high elegant bun, secured by a minimalist hairpin. Beneath the surface, she rocked dark red lace lingerie, veiled by a pure white translucent batwing blouse. The hemline accentuated her curves perfectly, with that lethal aesthetic. It was no surprise she had every man in Longvuang village under a spell, from teens to geezers. If I'd known she was here, I'd have bailed. Whoa. Lin Yu lamented. How was his youthful body supposed to resist this? He chanted to himself like a monk, "My resolve must be absolute. No seductive demons shall corrupt my consciousness. My soul is as tranquil as a lake, clear as glass. The winds are hushed, the clouds are frozen, the tides are tame, and the ocean is silent. Meditating in the bamboo grove. A primal howl reveals my true path." Lin Yu knew he had to break the tension first. Stepping forward, he greeted Busy Day Auntie Ote. "I'm looking to sharpen my look with a haircut. View." Van Chi spun around at his voice and scanned Lin Yu's frame, noting to herself that his build was remarkably athletic. What a vibrant masculine specimen of a young man. A sultry smile bloomed across her lips. She purred, "Oh, if it isn't Xiao Yu, come in and get comfortable. What kind of transformation are we doing?" Lin Yu settled in, studying her for a beat before deciding, "Auntie Shol, give me a clean buzz cut. Vu Van." Chi nodded approvingly. "You got it." She unfurled a barber's cape around him with a flourish, grabbed a sleek spray bottle and misted his hair until damp before meticulously combing it out. Back in those days, rural barbershops didn't offer any fancy pre-wash rituals, and there was zero chance of reclining while some stylist gave you a relaxing scalp massage. Lin Yu prepared to unleash his legendary, silver-tongued charisma, dead set on bringing a windfall to the village. He was busy pitching a professional hair washing station to Vu Van Chi, ensuring customers would be addicted to her shop all year round. After all, scrubbing your own scalp at home is a total chore, involving boiling water. Here, they get a fresh fade and a rinse in one go. Even with a slight price hike, the convenience would be irresistible. As for Lin Yu's silver tongue, Auntie was so thoroughly captivated by his vision that her eyes shimmered with greed. Lin Yu knew he'd hooked her, so he decided to turn up the heat. He whispered, "Auntie, just picture the scene when the crowds from every surrounding village start swarming here. For your touch, you'll be drowning in profits." Vu Van Chi was completely intoxicated by Lin Yu's high-level pitch. Her face was a mask of pure, unadulterated hype. Lin Yu didn't let up for a second. "Not to mention, with your killer looks and aura, you'll easily bewitch every man in the county from the bros to the elders. Just the thought of it is a massive rush, isn't it? You'll probably have to recruit a squad of apprentices, because you won't be able to carry this empire on your own. Then you can pivot into the world of nail artistry to completely monopolize the market for every girl and lady in the vicinity. By then, a staff of assistants will be mandatory, otherwise you'll never catch a moment's peace." Vu Van Chi's eyes sparkled like diamonds as she gazed at Lin Yu. She purred, "Xiao Yu, what is this nail artistry you speak of?" "Doing nails is a literal goldmine at this moment." Her voice turned sweet enough to cause cavities. The claws of the enigmatic Lin Yu gently took hold of her slender pale hand as he resumed his god-tier smooth-talking routine. He began breaking down the aesthetic allure of manicures while not missing the chance to subtly caress that velvet skin. Then he pivoted back to unloading his relentless business strategy for the nail salon. Auntie Van Chi drank in every word with a giddy grin, her flirtatious eyes burning with intense fascination, as if terrified of losing even a single syllable. For the grand opening drop, a legendary 50% discount. After a month, revert to the premium rate, but for the OGs. And the new faces keep a 20% loyalty discount running. If they buy a membership and top up 200 yuan will show, they score 2 sessions for free. A 100 yuan top up gets them 1 bonus session. He finally released her hand so she could get back to work. Chatting while she clipped Auntie Van. She fired up the blow dryer to blast away the stray hair. The job was done. Auntie Van Chi, looking visibly stunned, said to Lin Yu, "Xiao Yu, it's no shocker people claim. The mind of an educated scholar is on a whole different level. If these schemes of yours actually pay off, then from this day forward, whenever your family stops by, then your haircuts are 100% on the house deal sales." Lin Yu let out a chuckle and nodded, sealing the pact. He reached for his wallet, but Auntie Van Chi flat out refused the cash. She shot him a few sultry glances as she escorted him to the exit. Lin Yu strolled back home in absolute peak spirits. Truly, a cleared headspace makes every step feel like walking on air. It turns out that in this, reincarnated life knowledge is the ultimate cheat code. Awakening at the crack of dawn the next morning, he felt that beauty was radiating from every corner of the world. Because in this timeline, Lin Yua wasn't shackled as a corporate slave just yet. Since Lin Yu was locked in and determined, this life was going to be lived to the absolute fullest. For breakfast, Mom Jiang whipped up some golden corn porridge and yesterday's leftover beef buns pan-seared to perfection, and a side of crispy salt-fried anchovies. Lin Yue devoured the meal, silently praising Mom Jiang for the feast before teasing her playfully. "Oh, my most beloved mother, I'd say." Mom Jiang immediately hoisted her leg and planted a swift kick right on Lin Yu's backside. She barked with mock loathing, "You better start using a normal tone with me. Do you understand?" I just grinned, playing the shameless son, and chirped, "Crystal clear, mother." Yo. My old man stood by laughing his head off, radiating that classic, traditional Chinese father energy. I kept the act going. "Mom, did you actually consider my proposal from yesterday?" Mom Jiang narrowed her eyes and snapped, "Beat it, get out to sea with your father already. You spend all day doing absolutely nothing productive. You're only a pro at eating," I muttered. A retort, feeling a flicker of annoyance, thinking I'm being dead serious, There is no mission more critical than this. So, if I somehow get isekai'd and poof, out of existence again, at least you'll have a spare kid for backup. I couldn't help but let out a heavy sigh. I paused for a beat, wondering if that lottery ticket was destined for the jackpot. If it's a bust, it's just a stroke of bad luck. If it fails, it's simply fate, so there's no use stressing over it all. But if that number actually lands, my path to building an empire will accelerate at light speed. And if the jackpot eludes me, then my initial pot of gold will simply have to be forged through grueling labor. If I don't strike it rich, I'll go grind at a market stall and trade sweat for cold cash. I grinned and sprinted to assist my old man with the heavy lifting. Leveling up the family income felt absolutely glorious and swelled my chest with pride. The day evaporated in a chaotic busy blur. The haul was actually quite respectable. Down at the local market, our stock vanished in a heartbeat. We raked in a grand total of 150 yuan. I snagged a bottle of premium Newlanshan Baiju for my dad. Back at the house, Mom was hustling by the stove. The entire place radiated pure domestic warmth. Returning home after an exhausting shift, both my body and soul felt completely at peace. The TV was blasting Little Soldier Jangayit. I watched with laser focus until 9:10 p.m. Then flicked the dial to the China Education channel. I gripped a pen and paper, puffing a cigarette while waiting in silence. Claiming I wasn't a nervous wreck would be a total cap-L. Seriously, who could know the lottery results before they happen and have already secured the tickets? Without getting absolutely hyped, who would have guessed? Someone could actually transcend time and purchase the exact winning sequence, knowing the final score and not losing your mind with adrenaline is impossible. Who could believe a time traveler could have a 100% guarantee that the winning digits wouldn't shift? Was I freaking out? I was oscillating between pure euphoria and cold dread. My heart was racing like a drum. The first red ball matched. The second was a hit too. The third red ball was dead on, even as a total optimist. My pulse was thumping violently against my ribs. The fourth red number was a perfect match. The fifth red ball was a total miss. Abruptly, my racing heart tanked. The draw marched on relentlessly. When the sixth red number flashed, I instantly bolted from my seat and let out a sharp muffled, "Oh, whoa, hell yeah," I realized in an instant. It was now down to securing one third-tier payout, or sweeping all 200 of those third-tier prizes. The machine moved on to the final blue ball. Just as I suspected, the blue number had deviated. It was 7 in the original timeline, but now it was 11. Holy crap, I hissed. This is it. It's a total lock sound. In this insane moment, I just craved a sliver of peace. Desperate silence to maintain my composure. Sparking a cigarette and waiting for my racing heart to settle, I snatched a pen to crunch the raw numbers on paper. Exactly how many third-tier jackpots did I just snag? Factoring in the 4th, 5th, and 6th, what's the grand total? After the math, I couldn't suppress my euphoria roughly. 900,000 yuan in the bag, yeah. I thought feverishly that I truly am destiny's chosen one. The lifetime earnings from my past life, the heavens have restored them to me once more. It's like being blessed by a hidden system clearing my path. The ultimate golden opportunity, haha, absolutely legendary. The mysterious youth. Tossed and turned all night sleep deprived, with the first pot of gold locked in building Maya. Commercial empire is within reach. Time to level up, kiddos. Back then, I planted a single seed, and finally, it has ripened into sweet, succulent fruit. Today is a monumental day, I sang and vibed, until I was completely drained. Unable to fight it anymore, I finally crashed into a deep slumber, jolting awake the next morning, Huck. I felt like even the morning breeze reeked of cold hard cash, though I missed the absolute jackpot. This capital is more than enough to ignite my plans. Labeling this my first pot of gold wouldn't be an exaggeration. After breakfast, I sweet-talked Mom Jiang for permission, saying, I had a meet-up with a buddy to head into the city of Fengcheng today to scout the environment. Planned to go off the grid for about 3 to 5 days. After enduring Mom's typical lecture, I grabbed my ID and a rugged backpack, pulled on a baseball cap to lay low, and embarked for Fengcheng, the trek to the city. First trek to the township to catch a bus to Bingcheng, then from Bingcheng board AI train or an express shuttle straight to Fengcheng. Nearly 5 grueling hours later. Finally, at 1 p.m., I stood before the Redemption Center's registration counter, processing the claim at the window, scribbling my name on the confirmation. They dropped the bombshell. This windfall was entirely tax-free. Clutching the check, I threw on some gear. Snapped a commemorative photo, then dipped to the designated bank teller. I funneled the entire fortune onto my bank card. Spotted a local noodle shop. Ordered a steaming plate of egg-fried noodles to wash down with a crisp Mirinda apple soda. Crushed 2 cloves of garlic and drizzled some tangy black vinegar over the noodles. Still the same legendary recipe, still that soul-soothing flavor. Everything was just straight-up perfection. Exiting the noodle joint, I caught a bus surging toward Fengcheng University. I snagged a seat by the window, settled in, and tracked the passing world. This familiar sanctuary from my previous life remained exactly as it was etched in my memories. Back when my past life memories first jolted awake, I was constantly plagued by a flicker of fear. I was terrified that this was all some elaborate dream too, but slowly, that dread morphed into absolute hype. I was dead set on securing an apartment, near the campus, specifically in the elite Shengxi Meijing residential complex right by the Westgate log. It was a top-tier brand new project back then. In my past life, when I first arrived to scout for supplies, the sales office was rocking a massive eye-catching banner with a full-blown stage erected right out front. I vividly recall that the female MC was an absolute goddess, so I hung around just to gawk, searing the scene into my mind. Arriving at the Westgate, I hopped off the bus and marched straight into the sales office. The consultants greeted me with surprisingly high energy. First, I began scrutinizing the floor plans. I watched as the sales rep served me a fresh, hot cup of coffee while, slowly sipping the brew, I casually grilled her for info. The agent went by the name Yu Hui. She flashed a polished, corporate smile while staring at my boyish face. She was likely convinced. This deal was a total dead end, probably screaming internally, hurry up and scram so I can get back to actual business, Stop wasting. My prime time for making that diaper money, I drained my steaming cup of coffee. Seeing that she was still grinding through every single query, I truly respected that level of professional hustle. I put in a request for an on-site walkthrough. Yu Hui stayed in character and agreed without a second's delay. She asked which specific layouts I was eyeing, so she could secure the keys. I tapped the floor plan. Let's scout these two. The first is a cozy 88 square meters, and the other is a sprawling 140 square meters. After we both finished inspecting both units, we retreated back to the office. I began gearing up to negotiate, allowing Yu Hui to throw out the first quote. A standard finished unit started at 3,000 yuan per meter. Back then, a 1,500 yuan salary was considered elite tier. Ultimately, I locked in the 140 square meter unit with a basic interior finish, completely unfurnished. During the launch event, a 2,000 yuan deposit slashed a massive 50,000 yuan off the total. I'm a sucker for high floors and total tranquility, so I aimed straight for the 11th floor. Being the penthouse level, it came with a bonus 50 square meters. A tick. The sticker price landed at 395,000 yuan. After some aggressive back and forth haggling with Yu Hui, she got her boss to shave off 100 yuan per square meter, plus an extra 1,000 yuan discount. Final price stabilized at a clean 380,000 yuan. I dropped the bag and paid the full amount up front. Why not? I've got the capital. Under the shell-shocked stare vertical bar of the entire staff, I swiped my card and snatched the keys. After clearing the utilities and service fees, amidst her suddenly intense and affectionate gaze, I strolled out of the sales office. Finally, I was the master of My first property across both lifetimes, a home that was undeniably mine, and I secured it outright with cold hard cash. The logic behind the purchase was threefold. First, in my past life, dorm life was a vibe, but the stench in there was so vile I genuinely couldn't stomach it. If any of you ever shared a frat house or dorms with roommates who were actually hygienic and organized, like yourselves, then you must have been a saint in your previous incarnation, a male. Dorm requires way more than one or two clean freaks to survive that absolute biohazard. Real ones know exactly what I'm talking about. In my previous life, I resided in a luxury wedding home provided by my ex-father-in-law, Yu, which was both high-end and immaculate. Factor in my mental age. Pushing 54 across 2 timelines, and naturally, I've crave silence and solitude. Second, solo living equals peak freedom, without any distractions from my ultimate grinding plans. Third, the market timing is flawless. The more land I hoard, the better. Down the line, if I ever hit a liquidity crunch, I can still leverage it at the bank for a massive mortgage. Beyond those 3 reasons, I actually had a much more calculated endgame. Peering into the future, I smirked and whispered that I'm a legit genius. While I was plotting my next move, the horizon began to bleed into darkness. I felt a wave of pure exhaustion hit me, so I scouted a local hot pot joint to devour a mountain of meat. I checked into a nearby guest house to scrub off the grime and sink into some much-needed blissful slumber. Ideally, I should have hit the spa for a soak and a professional foot massage, but I was too drained to even move a muscle. Being a man is a relentless grind. The second my head hit the pillow, I was out cold. After a dreamless night, I checked out at the crack of dawn and stormed the morning market for fuel-fried dough savory tea, eggs and silky tofu, pudding, kicking off a marathon day dedicated to a shopping spree. The very second the shopping mall unlocked its doors, I was already inside hunting for premium gear. I cleared the bill and scheduled the delivery. By high noon, I had stockpiled a massive haul of absolute essentials, dropping well over 10,000 yuan. Tonight I'm ditching the guest house for good, even if the new pad still reeks slightly of fresh paint. But the payoff is total silence and comfort. I had planned to swing by the campus this afternoon to scout the area, but ultimately decided to play it cool. I've still got a full month before the official enrollment. By then, assuming fate doesn't throw a curveball, I'll finally reunite with those legendary monsters who called themselves my roommates in my past life. Every single chaotic face, every core memory flooded back like Sun Liang said. The absolute savage who'd rock the same underwear for 2 weeks, then just flip it inside out for another 14 days. A truly unwavering soul, with a rugged, unpolished vibe. Then the beastly Qin Liang obsessed with leveling up his life, whose eyes turned into hearts at the sight of any girl. The notorious drunkard Wuhan appearing generous on the surface. But internally I was every bit as manipulative as Li Peng. And the final member, the one I truly yearned for, the legendary old sixth Jie Tuo. In my previous existence, the two of us were thick as thieves. The corners of my mouth curled into a smirk, arched into a grin. Here I was, falling for that classic trope of every overpowered reincarnated MC wanting to carry my brothers to the peak of glory onto what? Helping them soar high and reach the top. I facepalmed at my own mushy sentimentality. Next, I initiated a total cleaning revolution throughout the rooms, bleaching every single hidden nook and cranny in the dead heat of summer. Sweat was cascading like a waterfall after I'd drained every ounce of my stamina to the point of total collapse. My stomach began roaring like a beast, so I threw on fresh gear and went to hunt for some fuel. Once I had gorged my fill, I checked the time. The night was still young and I was wide awake. What's the move? Straight to the sauna then. Time to indulge in some luxury. I made my way to the bathhouse. What's that legendary saying, Xiu? If you're hunting for the ultimate sauna experience, you've got to scout the Northeast. At this late hour, the crowd was pretty thin. Most of them looked like upright law-abiding citizens, though there's always a few wild cards in the mix. After a quick rinse, I summoned a specialist to scrub my back. I hollered, "Bring the salt milk and vinegar too, Lao." Just then, flexing I didn't add a thing, I slipped into a bathrobe and ascended to the second floor for a Thai massage. Shortly after, a female warrior stomped in. One glance was enough for me to dismiss her on the spot. She stormed out in a huff, nearly taking the door off its hinges. "You've got to be kidding me. I'm here to decompress, not to survive a torture session." A moment later, a different one stepped in. This one was a total upgrade. Her massage technique was absolute god tier. I was about to transcend this mortal coil. When the timer hit 0, she leaned in and asked, "Sir, would you like to book some extra time?" I just declined, contemplating silently. I'm here for a wholesome grind, but she wouldn't quit. Then perhaps a little relaxation session. I shook my head once more. I'm here for a legit massage lady. Show some professional integrity. She shot me a judgmental side eye and vanished. I thought, why is it such a struggle to just be a decent guy? Might as well retreat home and crash. At the crack of dawn the next morning, I began the trek back toward Binqiu. Chung, and from there caught the express bus back to my hometown. I hitched one final ride, and the second I hit the front porch, I bellowed, "Mom, I'm back in the building, hey hey." Mom Jiang emerged from the house, catching sight of her golden boy. Her face radiated pure joy. As she asked Xiao Yu, "Did you check out the university? Plus, is the campus massive? Is the scenery breathtaking?" I realized Mom was anxious about the future academic environment her son was stepping into. A wave of warmth flooded my chest. I gazed at Mom with genuine affection and answered, "Yeah, the campus is absolutely massive, Mom. It sprawls across nearly 4,000 acres. Inside those gates, everything is pristine and orderly." Jiang Fengjing noticed that her son seemed beyond pleased with the school, letting out a long sigh of relief. She smiled, "My boy, whilst you haven't had a bite to eat for lunch yet, have you, Mike? Let me whip something up for you." I beamed and replied, "That sounds perfect," right after I retreated to my room, swapping my gear for a tank top, shorts, and flip-flops. After devouring my meal, in record time, I rushed out to assist my old man. The daily grind was finally wrapped up. Being able to bolster the family's bank account made me feel legendary, no cap. Around 3 p.m., the two of us finished the hustle and trekked back. Today we raked in a clean 100 yuan, changed, scrubbed up, ate, then crashed, woke up refueled, then set sail once more. Every day was a loop like that. The most significant power-up I earned was my health hitting peak levels. I began eating like an absolute beast, muscles rippling across my frame. On the flip side, my skin turned darker than coal. Just like that, a week evaporated. I dialed up Fatso the moment the line connected. I ordered him to come get me, my treat at the food court. That bloated glutton, hyped as ever, came charging over. The two of us rode into town. I told Fatso to hold down the fort. At the beauty shop, I slipped inside to snag premium skincare for Mom and grabbed some heavy-duty sunscreen for myself. Truth is, I was terrified of getting too charred. If the top tier, baddies at campus don't even look my way later, I'm cooked. Afterward, we hit up a legendary BBQ spot and began our professional career of inhaling skewers, feasting while dropping some serious wisdom. I started breaking down for Fatso the explosive future of the tech industry. I urged him to master coding no matter the cost. In the coming years, it's going to be a literal gold mine. Once you're rolling in cash, rising up, the campus goddess will be a walk in the park. Fatso just stared at me with a face full of pure skepticism. Feeling helpless, I just smirked at him, figuring I'd just brainwash him bit by bit. We'll cross every other bridge when we get to it. Once we polished off the feast, we headed back together. I presented the high-end cosmetics to my beloved mother. She accepted the gift with a radiant, beaming smile, yet didn't fail to lecture me about wasting my hard-earned cash. I chuckled internally, knowing that's just the classic eternal catchphrase of mothers. The days began to blur together in a repetitive loop. Witnessing the pure joy on in my parents' faces daily, I drilled it into my head that I must remain relentless in my hustle and finish hoarding my initial capital at lightning speed, so that once I achieve total financial freedom, I can devote my entire life to staying by my parents' side and protecting them. During that intense grind, I carved out a single day to hop on the bike and drive Mom to visit her side of the family. We paid our respects to Grandma and swung by my uncle's places to vibe for a bit, regardless of what era you live in. Neighbors and kin need to maintain those bonds. If you don't show up, you might as well be total strangers. I crashed at Grandma's place for one night. At the crack of dawn, I escorted Mom back home. And just like that, I was back to the fisherman's grind. Y'all, these past few days, the jellyfish season hit full swing, forcing me to match my dad's brutal rhythm. Setting sail at the stroke of midnight became our daily ritual. Upon docking, we were swamped processing the hull. Only after that could we finally scrub off the salt, inhale some food, and pass out. Because by midnight, we were back on the waves. The logic was simple. We were slaves to the tides. Usually when the tide recedes with power, it's the prime window to scoop them up. Whether the jellyfish bounty is massive or pathetic follows no logic at all. It's purely a gamble against fate. Every trade is the same. Some years, the jellyfish are a literal endless ocean. Other years, they're practically extinct and completely vanished without a trace. You just have to pray the heavens grant you a seat at the table. When a mega haul hits, you also have to hope your gear holds up. If you own a top-tier vessel with massive trawl nets, you're swimming in gold. But if the ocean is empty, then the machinery is just dead weight. My family originally owned a small wooden vessel, but since my dad pivoted to construction contracts and there was no one left to pilot or maintain it, he sold it off ages ago. Time evaporated in the blink of an eye. Out of nowhere, it was already August 2nd. Lately, even Jiang Fengying could sense that. The day of my departure for campus was looming. She became increasingly protective and doting toward this unruly son of hers. Her demeanor even softened noticeably. I can't even pinpoint when it began, but I whispered, good grief. I'm living the absolute dream. Mom Jiang revamped the menu every single day just for me. I made damn sure not to leaked the secret that my own culinary prowess was actually forged through decades in my past life. After all, she's prided herself as a housewife for years. Mom Jiang intended to drag me to the city for a wardrobe upgrade. I waved her off and shook my head aggressively. Mom Tao, the threads in Fengcheng are way more budget friendly. I'll just handle my own shopping when I arrive. Seriously? Well, relax. I'm not going to blow through cash like a fool. Jiang Fengying conceded that my logic was sound. So she dropped the subject. August 25th. Breakfast at the Lin residence was eerily silent today. Both father and mother seemed visibly depressed. I immediately cut through the tension to offer some comfort. Mom, Dad, I'll be back for National Day before you know it. Chin up. Originally, Dad Lin was dead set on escorting me to campus for orientation. In my previous life, he actually did tag along, but this time I flat out refused, insisting I'd roll with Fatso so I'd have a wingman. Dad Lin drove me to the township to link up with Fatso, who had been camping out for ages. The two of us boarded a bus bound for Binne, Cheng. After an agonizing hour passed, we transferred to the high-speed Hue Express. By 1 p.m., we finally touched down at the Fengcheng bus terminal. The moment we stepped out, Fatso looked completely shell-shocked, classic newbie traveler vibes. I navigated my best friend all the way to his university gates. The gap between our two campuses is roughly an hour's commute by bus. Once I had Fatso fully situated in his dorm here, I made a move back toward my own apartment, cracked the windows, and started scrubbing. For a bit, then hit the shower. I felt light as a feather, recharged and ready to go. I dialed Fatso to get the lowdown on his situation. Fatso mentioned his dorm was finally filling up with new faces. He sounded absolutely hyped beyond belief, which put my mind at ease. I dropped some wisdom, then cut the line. Man playing the overprotective dad is draining, no cap. I mapped out my mission for tomorrow. Morning storm, the campus for enrollment, claim my territory, and settle the tuition and dorm fees. Afternoon raid the electronics district for a high-end PCO. I swung by a service hub to get my internet hooked up. I whipped up some instant noodles to fuel my systems, and crashed early. I was so completely wiped that I slept like the dead. In the soul of Fengcheng at the west gate of the university, rocking a backpack, a fresh cap, and sleek shades, meticulously preparing to set foot in my legendary old stomping grounds, my chest was a chaotic storm of emotions. I froze, taking a long look at the campus courtyard. Freshmen with faces full of pizza grease acne, low-key nerdy scholars looking prim and proper, and girls in miniskirts flaunting long porcelain legs while others rocked those sky blue flares. Hold up, why does everyone look like a total rookie? Where are the seasoned seniors hiding? Through Lin's eyes, they all just looked like little brats. To me, honestly. The second you cross those university thresholds, do you ever question what your endgame is? Is it a bowl of our pure gold, silver rust, or joining the mighty ranks of the working class? Or being a corporate slave with legendary endurance? That's the inevitable path for the masses. Grinding that 996 or 007 life until you're balding from stress, where your veins are literally pumping pure espresso. Even with a gig, you're terrified to take a day off, let alone actually enjoy being alive. That kind of existence, grinding for blood, sweat, and tears. Pennies, there's zero fulfillment in that. I'll just steal a legendary quote. Working a 9 to 5, not in this lifetime. In reality, university is the ultimate fork in the road. Trust that. Knowledge is the only thing that will rewrite your destiny. Just give it your tio. Absolute all and let fate handle the rest. And study, is the sole narrow path for us commoners. To use sheer grit to rewrite our destinies. No debates, no exceptions. Those who get it are kindred spirits. Those who don't, well, that's their loss. I couldn't care less. I marched with absolute confidence and composure toward the registrar's office. Tall frame canvas kicks. Rocking a sky blue denim on denim combo, layered over a crisp minimalist white tee. With a sleek black pack on my shoulders and a voguish vertical bar. Capped beneath the brim sat a pair of menacing black shades. The skeletal frames shimmered under the sun, looking insanely high profile. Anyway you slice it, I was dripped out like a legend. After settling the tabs, I grabbed my bedding blanket mat and pillow, plus the standard wash basin, a set of sky blue linens, and a pure white duvet, post-military. Training folding that blanket into a perfect tofu block is mandatory. Exactly. With one hand, I swung the massive blue gear, bag onto my shoulder, the other hand gripping the basin, strolling toward the dorm block. These supplies feel light as a feather to me now. It's nothing but a walk in the park. The heat was oppressive. I felt like that bowl of tofu pudding from this morning was a tad too salty. So I ducked into the campus mart near the South Canteen to snag an iced black tea, draining it in a single go to chill my system. Pure bliss. I whipped out my phone to check the clock. The 0 hour should be approaching. So I pressed on toward my destination. Why on earth am I lingering around the South Sector right in the shadow of the academic office, without a single care in the world? You could say he's trying to validate the laws of this pivotal history, to prepare for his grand deduction of future events. Or you could call this a fated collision that was written in the stars. That's the poetic way to frame it, but honestly, I'm just camping out like a total simp. She was once the beautiful melody in his soul. Even though she ditched him to chase her career across the globe, the ache for a first love, the desperate urge to see her face just once more, has kept me trapped in this bittersweet haze. Despite the brutal mental war I fought last night, I knew perfectly well I should stay away. But he still showed up because once upon a time, an eternity ago, he had been the one shielded by that person's love. That's the truth of it, everything for the sake of love. Humans are truly the most cryptic puzzles to themselves. Trust me on that. I only agonized over whether I should face her again or if I could, stomach being shattered by her just one more time. But I never imagined, paused to consider if this was just pathetic sentimentality. Peak simp behavior, no cap don't. Visualizing our first encounter from years ago, I accelerated my stride and took my post beneath a sycamore tree. I slumped on the curb using my cap to fan away the heat, my gaze hidden behind. Dark lenses relentlessly scanned the horizon. After burning through 2 cigarettes, a male student, clutching a gear bag identical to mine in his left hand, and a heavy suitcase in the other emerged. Trailing just behind him was a girl. She was also hauling a suitcase. Both were drifting directly toward me. I had calculated this vantage point with surgical precision. Years ago, at this exact coordinate, when the gap closed to about 100 meters, her silhouette slowly began to sharpen. Standing around 175 centimeters, though she's actually a solid 177 centimeters. I know every detail. She was rocking a baseball cap, her raven silk-like hair threaded into a high ponytail through the back of the hat, dressed in those sky blue denim jeans that complemented her frame. Her legs were remarkably straight and slender. Her leg-to-hip ratio was a literal masterpiece, rocking white high-top canvas kicks, a crisp white tee as her base, layered with a lightweight jacket over the top. Her physique was nothing short of flawless. Suddenly, I watched her for some mysterious reason flare, up in anger and freeze in her tracks. She snapped at the guy beside her, her temperament seemingly hitting a boiling point, her chest heaving with every breath. After that guy muttered something in response, the two of them resumed their march. Only now she trailed slightly in his wake, as the distance continued to diminish. Evaporate, her features finally snapped into focus. It was her, beyond a shadow of a doubt. Her face was a perfect oval with a high, elegantly petite nose, lips as delicate as cherry blossom petals paired with shimmering almond eyes and sharp straight brows. The spacing of her features was masterfully balanced, with slightly high sculpted cheekbones. Her face was a harmonious masterpiece woven together, with proportions as breathtaking as a divine painting, giving her a lethal razor-sharp beauty. Yet I still hadn't made my move. Was I waiting for the perfect moment to strike? Not even. How could a simp possess such high-level tactical skills? The two of them brushed right past me and continued their path forward. The guy intentionally dragged his feet, pretending to readjust his heavy gear bag, but in reality, he was creepily invading her personal space. By now, my blood was already beginning to hit its boiling point, but I forced myself to wait. The scene hadn't peaked like it did in my past life yet. She was being harassed. She finally snapped. Have you completely lost your mind whilst using the excuse of helping just to pull some sleazy moves on a freshman junior? Relax. I swear I didn't mean it. This is the second time I'm heading to the office to report you right now. Give me your name. Oh, come on, Junior. I've just got a massive crush on you. Why don't we just start dating? Hey. Yeah. She suddenly became visibly flustered. Drop my things, get out of my face. The guy saw the underclassman had zero respect for his authority. At a loss for words, he slammed the luggage down and started getting physical, reaching out to grab her insurance. That was my cue. I stood up abruptly and closed the distance in a few predatory strides. Since there were still 2 days until the official start, and it was early morning, the road was nearly deserted. The creep timed it well. I immediately gave him a shove that sent him stumbling backward, shielding the girl behind my back. I will clock you out, I swear on my life. After that, we're taking a trip to the office to settle this and see if there's any shred of a future left for you. I glared at him icily. A few nights in a cold jail cell, a permanent disciplinary stain, or being expelled. Which path are you picking? He looked up at me. Someone standing half a head taller than him. He couldn't help but feel rattled to his core, putting on a tough act, but his knees were practically knocking. He spat, If you've actually got stones, stay right there and wait for me. Barking that, he fumbled for his phone. I just stared. Spare me the drama. You really calling your squad IDO? Crossed my arms and watched his pathetic performance. The girl's entire field of vision was occupied by my back. It wasn't just the relief from the tension or anger, but an instinctive sense of security blooming in her chest. I flipped my cap around and smirked, taunting him. Cut the theater. No self-respecting person is bored enough to catch a case for you on campus. If you don't vanish now, I'm actually going to clock you. The moment the words left my lips, I lunged toward him. The coward lost his nerve and bolted like his life depended on it, eh? Still howling back, "You're dead meat. Just wait there. Ma, you moron, I'm gonna brain you with a rock catch I eat." Stooped down and swept my hand across the gravel. I rose locked onto my target and let it fly. He panicked, zigzagging like a headless chicken. I pulled the old stone, the stray dog trick Grandma taught me. One glance, all. Kill. Using it on literal trash feels pretty satisfying, haha. I turned around to finally face her. Her silhouette from my memories and the girl before me. Perfectly aligned. I slid off my shades, hooked them on my shirt, and beamed. At the stunning girl. "Greetings, I'm a mechanical engineering major incoming freshman." I extended my hand. The girl eyed me with deep suspicion, thinking, "How am I supposed to play this bitch? This guy looks like way more trouble than the last creep." Her eyes met mine, crystal clear and hauntingly transparent. Bathed in the sunlight, she looked ethereal. She slowly reached out, choosing to bet on her intuition, even though I had just played the hero. Who's to say there wasn't a bit of a gamble in her heart? Ew. Lightly grazed her slender fingers, and released them the instant our skin touched. "Hello, I'm Shen. Jenny, a major in broadcasting and hosting Shochu, also a freshman. If you trust me to haul this gear for you, it'll cost you exactly 2 meals. Deal law." I flashed a textbook perfect smile showing all 8 teeth, and waited. Shen Jenny's brow furrowed. Was I a predator? Definitely not her usual vibe. Regardless, she decided to take the risk. "Thanks for earlier. Then I guess I'll have to trouble you. Those 2 meals are on me then." I shook my head, chuckling. "Just 2 meals, boy. Any more than that, and you might start sobbing." Shenzhen, the autumn climate in Fengcheng, is arid though, crisp and refreshing, but the sun still feels a bit suffocating. After trekking for over 20 minutes, Shenzhen shed her light jacket. I had nothing left to strip off, despite my chest and back being drenched in sweat. Yet I felt like everything was just so breathtaking, especially the person strolling beside me. Fengcheng University boasts a storied history stretching back to the Republic era. Most campus paths are asphalt, which were currently sizzling under the sweltering heat. Along both flanks of the road thrive ginkgo and sycamore trees. Right now, the fallen leaves are still scarce. But when the chill sets in and jackets come out, both sides will be submerged in a sea of radiant, golden leaves. Every step feels like walking on treasure. It's incredibly poetic. While we walked, I stole glances at Shenzhen, trying to bridge the gap between her past and present selves. Fractured memories made me lose my focus. Jenny noticed me dripping with sweat and looked worried. "Let's head over there and take 5. Don't push yourself too hard. We're in no hurry." She gestured toward a sycamore tree ahead while speaking, her sparkling eyes fixed on me. I dropped the suitcase and bedding to give my muscles a much-needed stretch. Truthfully, I wasn't exhausted in the slightest, despite the heavy perspiration. My physical endurance is currently off the charts. Jenny pulled a water bottle from her bag and offered it. "Drink up. Seriously, I'm so grateful to you." If I had been on my own, I probably would have collapsed halfway. And about what happened earlier, I twisted the cap and drained the bottle in one aggressive go, then let out a thunderous burp. "Forget it, but what if I really was lying in wait for you, Tot." Haha, Shenzhen shot me a playful knowing look. I suppose that's possible, so. "But how do you know I wasn't waiting for you too?" I let out a burp and caught her stunned expression. Jenny suddenly erupted into a fit of joyful laughter. Her radiant flower-like smile made my brain stall for a beat. Shenzhen is likely exactly the same as in my past life, huh? Sacrificing her hometown roots for the sake of her future, relentlessly chasing down her own ambitions. People fueled by dreams always command respect, because they've drawn a clear line to their endgame. Even though my heart still gravitates towards Shenzhen, I no longer feel that toxic, suffocating urge to own her, and I don't even crave a specific validation from her anymore. Nevertheless, being a red-blooded male after all, staring at her exquisite face, and that god-tier physique, my subconscious immediately evicted those noble, detached thoughts. I still want to take my shot. If I don't try, I'm just a useless, salty fish, right? Am I wrong? Is it possible I'm not just shamelessly thirsting? Over her looks as our conversation flowed, Shenzhen's defensive walls began to crumble. Observing me handsome, glowing with energy, charismatic, and a total gentleman, she felt completely secure. Based on her rough past, Jenny always equated wealth with safety, but standing here with me, she witnessed a different truth. Maybe it's just feminine. Sharp intuition, vertical bar. But she was dead certain I wouldn't hurt a hair on her head. Could it also be thanks to this face of mine? Nah, probably not. Shenzhen has dealt with more than enough pretty boys. After a quick breather, I escorted her to North Building 12. While trekking past North Building 2, I gestured with my chinwa to signal her that's my dorm right there. Give me a second to drop this off shit. I'll ditch my gear in my room first. I pointed at my wall. Mountain of bedding. Shenma. Jenny flashed a smile and gave a nod. I staged her suitcase and linens on the sidewalk, hoisted my own kit, and marched into the dorm to claim my space. I snagged the top bunk right by the window and dumped my luggage over at North Building 12D. After a quick word with the dorm warden, I hauled Jenny's stuff upstairs only to find she was the very first person to reach her unit. It was a standard 4-person setup, under my expert advice. She claimed the bed in the exact same position as mine. I assisted her with a bit of tidying. But realizing it was awkward for a guy to linger, I said, I'll take my leave now. I've still got a few essentials to hunt down. If you feel lost in this place, just hit me up. Got it, thanks a million. Wait, can I snag your digits? Well, I'm treating you to dinner later. I rattled off AA. Sequence of numbers which Jenny punched into her phone. A vintage Samsung E808. This model was an absolute titan among girls back then, so carrying a hefty price tag of 2 million Vietnamese dong at the time. With its sleek compact design and stunning aesthetics, it dominated the trend cycle for ages. After we swapped contact info, I made my exit. Jenny politely escorted me all the way to the entrance, swinging by the campus mart. I grabbed myself an iced black tea. Subconsciously, I started humming Ajo, Even the Gods. Wouldn't dare touch cold drinks after this. Guess I'm pivoting to health nut mode. My Virgin Boy technique has reached peak mastery, so what am I even grinding for anymore? A second chance at life is a miracle. There's no way I'm squandering it on reckless living. Returning to the dorm room, I spotted a guy meticulously organizing his bunk. He had a notably round face, a sharp straight nose, a broad forehead, and pale skin framed by thick brows. His short hair was coarse and slightly wavy styled, in a dense pitch black sheepwool perm. Yo, I'm Qin Liang, the self-appointed room leader. Qin Liang is a Jicheng local like, a vital piece of the Room 512 squad. Hey, I'm actually from Bingcheng, Yatias. Officially joining the ranks of this room, Qin Liang and I finished up, prepping our sleeping quarters. Task complete, I grabbed a towel and basin to scrub down in the bath. After sliding into some fresh threads, I took a load off on a stool, effortlessly vibing and shooting the breeze with Qin Liang. The iconic Nokia ringtone pierced the air. It was Jenny. Hello? I kept my voice low, listening in. All right, sounds good. Meet at the canteen to top up your meal card. I bolted upright. Liang, I'm out. Can't chill with you right now. Qin. Liang nodded in agreement. I made a mental note to load my balance, then bolted downstairs, racing toward North Building. 12 to rendezvous with Jenny in the lobby. We locked eyes and shared a smirk. So, what's the move for lunch and where are we dropping to Waikuos? North Area Canteen number 3, let's roll. Yo. As we cruised, I began flexing my campus intel, breaking down how the North Area houses 16 dorm blocks and features a total of 4 massive canteens. The grub at Canteen number 3 is the undisputed GOAT. Jenny flashed me a loud and clear look, and whipped out her meal card to inject some funds. The staff processed the card to stack the credits. When hunger strikes you simply, tap at any stall and secure the goods. I gave Jenny the grand tour of the diverse culinary stalls. I snagged 2 rice portions, one by serving being nearly 2 units. Currently, a portion is a mere 0.4 yuan. Jenny just copped a single steamed bun for 0.2 yuan. Me, I locked in a double order of beef, 1 plate of braised pork, and a side of stir-fried greens. Meat for 3 RMB is a total cheat code for carnivores. If you're trying to keep that physique tight, you go heavy on the beef. Bonus a side of shrimp scampi eggs, flavor bombing, and zero stress about packing on the pounds. The absolute mountain of food I piled up was fully subsidized by Jenny's meal card. I was shameless enough to feel zero guilt about the haul. I scouted a seat with a prime view of the TV and waited for Jenny to fetch 2 bowls of soup. The second Jenny was settled. I engaged beast mode, vacuuming the rice like a madman. Jenny gracefully sipped her broth and whispered, "Easy there. Grab more if you're still hungry. Can't stop, gotta eat it while it's hot. It'll only take as long as it takes to smoke a cigarette." I let out a satisfied burp. Yo. Completely stuffed, then gestured toward Jenny. "Hand over the meal card." "Wait, what meal card?" Moi. "Hand it over. I'm still not done with my rampage." Jenny stared at me, her jaw hitting the floor in disbelief. I snatched the tray and sprinted back to the main course station. "Just 2 meals," she mused, "but 2 days of this. And I'm terrified you'll be left in tears." My earlier warning finally resonated in her mind. Is this guy actually this much of a menace? But you're seriously sleeping on my bankroll, sweetie. Let's see the true capacity of that bottomless pit you call a stomach. Watching me shovel down another massive portion of beef, along with a side of stir-fried cumin lamb, plus yet another helping of rice stalks, and 2 bottles of chilled swanmei. Juice Jenny secretly questioned what kind of family could actually afford to raise this human vacuum to adulthood. Say, Forget the financial burdens. They'd likely be trapped in the kitchen slaving over a stove all day. The elegant Shen. Jenny finished her meal and observed me dining at my leisure. Maybe. He was genuinely famished earlier, but this appetite is straight up demonic. 3 meals a day at 60 yuan. Adds up to 1800 yuan a month. You have to understand that back then most students' monthly budget was a measly 5 to 600 yuan. I twisted the cap off the Swanmei juice and handed it over to Shen Zhenyi. Then cracked another bottle for myself and drained it. The TV was broadcasting highlights from the Athens Olympics. The legendary athlete Lu Xiang was securing gold in the 110-meter hurdles. I felt a surge of pure adrenaline and couldn't stop myself from letting out a victory cheer. After decompressing for a moment, I took a good look at Shen Zhenyi sitting before me. She had swapped into a sleek, short-sleeved black top and a pair of denim jeans that flawlessly showcased her silhouette. The mystery and vibrant personality radiating from her only served to intensify her captivating aura. Occasionally, a faint, intoxicating scent wafted from her, full of gourmet grub and refreshing drinks. With a stunning high-class girl by my side, I felt like life was reaching peak levels of chill. What even is the ultimate form of love? I turned my gaze towards Shen Zhenyi, and in that exact moment, she was staring right back. It felt as though our souls briefly collided us, making both of us shudder slightly, before instantly averting our eyes. A heartbeat later, what kind of dorm essentials are you looking to? Snag, I'm wide open this afternoon, and I can keep being your personal pack mule. As for the fee, please, one more meal covers it. Shun. Jenny, having frequently taken part in professional performances, though, had matured far faster than her classmates. She realized I wasn't like the other kids our age. I was more composed than most people already in the workforce. Confident, enigmatic, never dull, charismatic without overstepping, and bold enough to show his flaws. Since her childhood, the suitors chasing her could literally form a massive line. But before I could even execute my strategy of taking one step back to advance two, I never anticipated she'd be overanalyzing this much. I pressured her. Need a moment to weigh it, if not, I'm bailing, since I've got errands. Shun. Jenny blinked her wide doe-like eyes, looking uncharacteristically shy. I want to get my bearings on campus color. Would you mind being my guide? I'll cover another meal. I hummed for a beat. Fine, Tio, but you have to help me with one thing first. Yep. What's that? No, securing a new set of wheels. While internally I was musing. Is it just a bicycle? No, it's a chariot. Designed to carry love. A mode of transportation? Yeah, a bike. Let's move. The dashing guy and the stunning girl, radiating youthful energy together, wandered down the sun-soaked corridors of the campus. Memories began to flood back, so the innocence of childhood evaporating. Clouds drifting aimlessly across the azure sky. That day you swore you'd hold my hand and walk together to the edge of the world. The campus speakers were blasting a classic track by F1. Shen Zhenyi and I navigated the campus, arteries with the melody as our backdrop. I couldn't suppress a pang of bittersweet ache, glancing at the stunning Shen Zhenyi. Walking beside me, I relived the tragedies of my previous life. But this particular song, at this specific moment, was a total vibe killer. It excavated painful scars buried deep within Shen. The enchanting Jenny pivoted toward her artistic destiny starting in her second year, ruthlessly pursuing a professional career, sacrificing romance for her grand ambitions, discarding me all the way until I finished university, remaining completely single. Did I hold a grudge? Not even slightly. When someone is willing to burn bridges for their dream's sake, that person commands absolute respect. They are a formidable force of nature, even if the bridge they burned was me. As for my former existence, later on I caught whispers from friends that the stunning Jenny P, actually achieved some truly legendary things, and eventually married an elite heir with AI, massive influential family legacy. I questioned if I'd actually dare to replay this script to AO one more time. Part of me was hopeful, yet part of me was utterly resistant. Hopeful, praying that this time the story has a perfect ending, but deep down I subconsciously felt a haunting flicker of pessimism. Resistant because I once loved with my whole soul, and understand that agony all too well. Losing your first love is traumatic. It carves deep, straight through the heart. It's just pure torture. A perfect love